We have a great show. Last week we missed it, and we're gonna make up for it this week. We're gonna do.
We're gonna do an extended episode this week. Last week we talked to, 2 weeks ago we talked to Mike Termont. I've been trying to upload some videos in the meantime to keep everything active, but we're ready to go again this week, right?
Yeah, we are, and I'm looking forward to it. We have a great show. I mean, we're gonna dive into topics like aliens, and we're gonna go into things like political stances, and this would be great. Us being progressive, we can kind of confirm a lot of our stances through a test that me and Seth will be taking live, and we give different feedbacks. And then we're going to talk about a new entry into the Democratic primary, with
Potentially speculative.
speculative, but
Yeah.
almost confirmed.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have a great show, and we're going to dive deep. We're not going to waste any time. I'm going to let Seth introduce this new guy that wants to be president for like number 15,955 candidate for president.
Yeah.
so,
This is
so
on the Democratic side. Yeah, we're us after that. We're gonna take the political compass test. I'm sure if you are a political nerd online like everyone else, we kind of just sharing test results like every other week, obsessively. But I finally got Jesse to commit to doing one, so we're gonna see his results. I'll post mine too, but we'll just have his on the main front. But yeah, news this week. Trump has had more indictments, yada yada yada. Nothing interesting there. We all know he's been doing crimes for years. We'll see if he actually gets held accountable. So it's not really much to talk about there until we see things unravel.
yep.
But the notorious Dean Phil, he is let's see the reference. Yeah, he's a suburban Minneapolis. Let's see. Did that pull up? Is it showing on my screen? Oh, there we go. Now it is. Yeah, Dean Phillips. He is a self-proclaimed centrist, but I feel like he might be more progressive than Biden. I don't know. Either way, they're kind of in the same camp. He's just is sort of tapping into all, recognize that Biden is way too old to be president, and he's trying to commit to another 4 years when he's long sentences at this point. I think a majority of Americans can see that Kamala Harris is not the front runner to replace Biden. I don't think that setting her up to be his natural replacement is a good look or good measurement for the Democratic Party, because we are one of the most unpopular vice presidents, and she's not polling well again. It just does not seem like a good idea to. Let's be honest here. If Joe Biden wins re-election, the odds of him making it the next 4 years are very, I don't know, it's shaky at best. So,
well, let's not kill him before his time. But I don't know why her. No, I get it. She's very unauthentic. But do you think there's anything else that plays a role into why Kamala's so bad? Because to be deemed the worst vice president in American history, I think that's kind of crazy. Seeing that we had Dick Cheney. I'm not a defender of some of the things, but I think that's there's a little bit more to that.
In hindsight, obviously, Kamala Harris is better than Dick Cheney. It's just Dick Cheney was kind of more right for the times, I think. He's kind of like a strong man behind George Bush. George Bush was not a strong man. Maybe militarily or whatever, but nobody respected him like a leader like that. And Dick Cheney was kind of like, he's been in politics for all these years. I don't even know how to describe him, but everybody was kind of a war hawk in the early 2000s. So they were kind of okay with trusting him a little bit more. I don't know. He's more popular though. Her authenticity definitely plays a big role in it. You've never really seen her say anything that seems like it's coming from her own mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like if she says anything that's sensible, it's clearly like speech written. And then anytime she's off like script, it's just absolute nonsense. She's just saying words like, "We have this moment. and this moment in time is to be cherished, and we have to seize the moment, and we have to do everything we can with this moment. And it's like, what are you talking about, girl?
Is it like Veep? Like V? You
Yes,
ever seen that show Veep?
yes, she's literally Selena Meyer from Veep, like
Oh my
personified.
god!
If it is not a better example, like we would be literally the show Veep if she became president.
Oh my god!
It would just not be great. She just doesn't have any stances. She was running as a progressive at first, and as soon as that wasn't the lane to run in because there was too many progressives like taking up, too many people were definitely going for Warren or Bernie, and
Yeah.
it's like, well, I guess I'll run as a centrist, against
Mm-hmm.
Biden. She flip flopped and went the complete opposite way. She's controlled by money interests. She's a California Democrat, which they're not the most popular of Democrats. Everybody makes
Mm-hmm.
fun of California. She's just too progressive in the ways that don't matter, and she's not progressive enough in the ways that do matter. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, if it comes down to her versus a DeSantis or Trump, I would vote for her. But I would do anything I can to have any other Democrat that I trust more. So, and Dean Phillips, he's a centrist, but I trust him a lot more. He's
I mean,
also Jewish background, which would be an interesting.
there's a what background?
Jewish.
Oh,
So
that's
that would be
different.
interesting. First Jewish president.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, I think that would be. There's some scary things that come along with that because we definitely see some anti-Semitism come out. Like we've already seen how a lot of right wingers like act about Zelensky
Yeah.
around the world. Like they're very anti-Semitic towards him. But I think
Zelensky is Jew?
Zelensky is Jewish. Yes. Yeah.
Wait, the Ukraine. We're talking about Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, right?
I am. Yes. He is
He's a
Jewish.
Jew.
Yep.
I think he
And
did.
yeah,
Wow, I didn't know that.
Ukraine's got a sizable Jewish population.
I did not know that. That is some interesting facts there. I did not know he was Jewish.
I don't know why I know it. I just know. I know a lot. I mean, I'm Ukrainian, so I have to know. I have to know things about Ukraine.
Yeah, you have to know about your people.
Yeah, my people. Even
So
though it's 25%.
25% is more than me.
It's
More.
my biggest. It's my biggest percentage.
25%. Yeah, you're more than me, man.
My dad's grandparents did not even like speak English very well, so yeah.
They spoke Ukraine.
Exactly.
What's the Ukraine language? What's
Ukrainian.
it called? No, that's the people. It's the
No,
language.
it's Ukrainian. The language is Ukrainian. It's
The
very
language
similar
is
to Russian, but it's Ukrainian language.
That's interesting. You have Ukrainian people that speak Ukrainian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Russian people speak Russian, right?
Russian people. That is very true. I guess we're only in a lot of countries like that. Like America, we speak English.
Yeah. In Brazil, they speak Portuguese, but in Portugal, they speak Portuguese too. So it just depends on the actual origin of language.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
Anyways, back to Dean Phillips thing. I think it's interesting because he's talking to Washington donors right now. He's in New York City talking to Democratic donors, speculating he's trying to run. It's pretty clear that the Democratic donors not want Joe Biden to be the front runner, but they also are not willing to throw anything behind, obviously, RFK. Is my connection still good? I had a little notification pop up.
Yeah, you're good.
It's still good? Okay.
They're gonna have a problem. They're gonna have a problem. It's like, yeah, you're good. I just don't see how they're gonna be able to primary him. He's a sitting president. It's tough, man.
It's easier because he's an elected representative. He's at least a better challenge than Williamson. I don't know. We'll see how that turns out.
When I look at Phillips, when I look at Dean Phillips, I'm thinking to myself, okay, let's say you do beat Biden. Yeah, Dean Phillips. Let's say you do beat Biden.
Yeah.
What is your chances against Trump? against because I think if he goes against Trump, Trump will win
Oh, he
because Trump
absolutely
has a
would beat
bigger name.
Trump. No,
I
no,
don't.
no. That's
No, I'm
not how
talking
it
about name
works.
ID wise. Name
Yeah, he
ID
doesn't have the
wise in
name
the
ID,
country.
but at the end of the day, people are going to vote for the Republican or Democratic candidate, and they're going to have
Yeah,
there's going
but
to
you're.
be a shit ton of coverage about Dean Phillips in that meantime. He's going to become a national name regardless. Even
I
if he
don't know, man.
loses, he's going to be.
Every time I see someone come from a local race straight to national, the
It's not.
vetting is
It's
never
not a
that.
local race. He's federal. He's a federally elected.
Yeah,
You
but it
know,
was a local seat. He's a local congressman.
no, he's a state. He's a federal representative. He's
Yeah, but
every
he's not. There's
every
levels.
single
It's
person
like
elected in Congress or whatever is elected from their state.
they are
You
elected
know.
from the state, but they're elected from a portion of their city. It's not really. They're not
Okay,
really
that's fair.
covering the state,
You're
and that's
saying because
why.
he's a representative, not like a senator or an executive, right?
Yeah. So yeah. So every time you have these local races, it's really hard because the vetting is not as strong as the state races. And then the national races are extremely vetting. They're going
Yeah,
back to you're like a little baby, And the vetting for congressional races are not really. You don't really get vetted like that. They
yeah.
research you a little bit, but nothing too serious. But
The,
now we start
his,
getting to.
I think he's a
Huh?
veteran too. I could be wrong about that. The thing is though, it is the most difficult thing would be obviously challenging Biden. If he were to be nominated, obviously everybody would know his name by then, right?
Yeah,
Everybody would know Dean Phillips, who just ousted president, the
yeah,
president.
it'll go down in history.
Yeah, everybody know him, and
Yeah, he'll be
he's
first in the
charismatic. He would beat Trump or Biden. The question is, could he gain a name recognition or the favorability to take out down Biden? Because he would be seen as a credible challenger because he's a representative and he's young, he's charismatic,
Yeah.
and he's also moderate, so he can appeal to a pretty broad base. But yeah, it is the name recognition thing that would set him back against Joe Biden and whether or not people would take him seriously. So
Well, because right now Biden's challengers are not really that serious.
so
I
far,
don't
yeah,
think.
neither of them have ever been elected to anything. So
Yeah, Democratic. Um, Mary.
it's just Marianne Williamson, who's
What's called granted a lot of ground actually. Robert F. Kennedy.
yeah, but he's also I think he's starting to come backwards. Like people are after the he did you hear the thing he said about like he thought COVID was targeting uh,
Blacks
black
and
people and
Hispanic.
Jewish people or something,
Yeah,
or maybe it was no,
I
it was
think it was
black. I don't know.
Hispanics.
It was something like that, like or like Jewish people and Chinese people were the least affected or something. I don't know, something
Yeah.
very racially charged or
Hmm.
just constant conspiracy theories. So I don't know. People are starting to realize he's kind of a quack, but he's at least a Kennedy, and he's
Was that
got
20%? That's really good for a no-namer.
it's good, definitely good for a no-namer, but he's also has such a like specific base. And then like everyone else who does not support him has a very unfavorable view of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So there's not a lot of people that are like, well, I would support him if it weren't for Biden. If Biden
yeah.
dropped out, I think his support would just drop.
And
He would,
there's no Democratic actual debate, right?
so far, no.
Okay.
Things
They're
could
trying.
theoretically change, but
Yeah, they're trying to shield Biden from debating anybody.
yeah,
That's smart on the Democratic side.
that is true. If he's going to be the nominee, it's better that he doesn't look terrible against other Democratic candidates. But if there is a realistic Democratic candidate, I don't know how well they could. Like if Dean Phillips comes out of the gate polling at 30%, 35%, they have to do a debate. They have to do it. Maybe get out of it. That
Well, would he pull that 35%? Would he pull it from Biden or would he pull it from Robert F. Kennedy? That's the
yeah,
problem.
he would do both. I think.
I think he'll
I think
pull
he would.
most of Robert F. Kennedy,
I think
and he'll
most
pull
of the other two.
Williamson.
I think the other two announced candidates would pretty much drop off the map. And I think
Yeah.
Biden would definitely lose a little bit of support for Phillips. I think
Hmm.
Biden would still probably win, but it would be at least an interesting matchup
Yeah.
because Phillips wouldn't even challenge him on like policy goals. or anything. It's just like the practicality and the electability of Joe Biden, where he's pretty unpopular, even in the Democratic Party. And it doesn't look great to have a candidate you don't know if he's going to win or not. And if Dean comes out and he's polling better in matchups against Trump or DeSantis, I don't even know why I mentioned DeSantis.
Yeah, DeSantis is done.
Out.
Mm-hmm.
So, DeSantis is out. There's no way. Trump would literally have to be barred from running for DeSantis to be taken seriously again in my eyes.
Let me see where's the latest polling. I mean, the latest polling.
It's got to be down to like 10% now.
He's doing terrible. Oh, he's down to 17. Trump's at 54. Christie, Rumsey, Haley, Scott, Pence, all not even polling.
I think I've seen some polls where Vivek Ramaswamy has been taking a bigger lead than DeSantis in some states.
Yeah, I think that the problem with DeSantis is he's not a good debater. So as soon as he gets on the debate stage, he's gonna get torn apart, and his polls he's gonna drop out. Because one of the good things that I knew about him is like if DeSantis had a strong lead going into the first debate, he'll be fine. But since his lead's already pretty much decimated to 17%, his debates are going to put him down even more because he's a terrible debater.
Yeah, he's not a good debater at all, and he's already getting he's already losing the debate, and they're not even in the same room. You know what I mean?
They're not in the same room, yeah. It's like, so I can imagine him on the debate stage. Christie would tear him apart.
Yeah,
Christie would tear him apart.
I'm really excited for the Republican primary debates, so that's gonna be very.
I'm not gonna lie, the Republican primary debates are way better than the Democratic primary debates, and I'm speaking as a Democrat. And it's like it's more fire.
I enjoyed back when Tulsi Gabbard wasn't evil, and she was like making Kamala Harris call her cop.
But you see, you went back to you went back to 2016, right?
What?
That was 2016.
No, 2020.
That's 2020.
Kamala Harris was debating like Tulsi and Pete Buttigieg.
That was a terrible debate. The only person that could debate on that stage was Biden and Pete Buttigieg. Everyone else was terrible.
I don't agree with that at all. I'm not gonna lie.
I think Amy Klobuchar towards the end started coming back. He was pretty good towards the end.
I don't agree.
Look at the 20. All right, listen to the 2020 Democratic primary. It was terrible. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I excluded Bernie. But,
yeah, Bernie, of course.
Yeah, Bernie and Elizabeth Warren were good debaters.
Oh, yeah. Elizabeth Warren was so good.
Yeah. Mike Bloomberg was terrible. Pete
Buttigieg was terrible.
Decent.
Buttigieg was okay.
Started off really terrible, but then she got better.
That's
and
true.
Then Tulsi Gabbard
started off terrible too and got better.
Yeah, Biden got better because he just knew what to do. He's just a smart politician to all of them. He just knew what his base was going to be. And Tulsi Gabbard, I don't even think she should have ran. She should have been third party. So really,
she was more in line with the Democratic Party at the time, and she kind of slowly grifted out. Just attacking her and hating on her. She just sort of went full Fox News because they were the ones willing to have her on anymore. So she just started buddying up with Tucker, etc. So she kind of fell off.
Her and Yang should do a ticket together. That'd actually be a pretty decent ticket.
I definitely could see them being affiliated under the Forward Party for sure.
I think if this is going to be crazy, but I think this might be the year that a third party can actually win the presidency.
They could theoretically, but there isn't. There isn't really a viable third party. Mm-mm. Libertarians are absolutely quacks right now.
No one's voting for a libertarian.
They'll probably get.
Who's going to vote? You remember we talked about it? You sent me some links about it. It was who's that guy? Joe Manchin. Everyone hates.
Oh, the No Labels Party.
The No Labels Party. I think there's some serious calculation on his part to probably run as an independent. And I think this year you're going to have more independents running for president than probably ever.
It could be. We'll see how that turns out.
It's just really hard. I don't know how they have the money to get on the ballots, but I think they definitely are going to try.
I think Larry Hogan, who is also affiliated with the No Labels thing, could do a lot better because
Hmm.
especially because Joe Manchin is like he's like the third most unpopular senator in Congress,
Yeah.
like Republicans, Democrats included. He's not very popular.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I could see Larry Hogan. He's a really moderate governor of Maryland. He's a Republican. I could see him doing pretty good, but we'll see how that
Yep.
goes.
Mike Bloomberg, they're terrible. It's like the
Yeah,
worst
he
ever.
was so bad.
Pete
Remember when
Buttigieg,
Elizabeth Warren just sort of just destroyed him?
yeah,
That was so bad.
yeah. Mike Bloomberg did terrible. He tried, but it was terrible.
He spent a
Pete
lot of
Buttigieg,
money on ads, but
he did. I've never seen that before. I was like,
yeah,
dude, just put anybody $1 to vote for you, you'd be fine. That's how much money you spent. Uh, Pete Buttigieg, I thought he was too green to be president.
to
He
what?
just too green.
Green?
Yeah, that's a Florida term.
Oh,
How do you
okay.
explain green? He's just like too naive, naivete. It's like,
Too optimistic sounding, like too. Yeah.
yeah, it's just like, oh, it kind of looked like he tried to put Obama back in the ticket
Oh yeah. He was.
with his rhetoric, and it was like, okay, there's only one Obama. Like I couldn't differentiate him from Obama. It was like
Yeah.
it felt like
Definitely using the Obama playbook.
he was using the Obama playbook, and it's like, okay, yeah, we've been there, done that. Um, Amy, I thought she did really well towards the end. I think if she should run this time, but she's not going to do it because she's an establishment
No,
person.
she's too establishment for sure.
Yeah, but she should run this time because I think she started to get it at the end, how to sound bites and how to like captivate the audience. Like I remember she said, "Who does that?" And everyone was starting to say that during the debates. So she really came on strong towards the end of her campaign.
She
I
did
think,
do well in like 2 states, so
yeah, but that was towards the end because but it was too late by that time.
yeah.
But and she got killed in the South because no one in the South knows who she is.
Oh yeah. I can't realistically see her winning. Not gonna lie, that's one of the things I definitely disagree with you on. But I understand
No,
the.
I think she has a good shot. I mean, she's gonna probably have to run 3 times. She's not gonna be able to just. Um, Unfortunately for her, in the state that she's in, she's gonna have to run multiple times. She can't run one or 2 times. She has to run a lot. It's almost like Joe Biden. Joe Biden ran for president 3 times. No one
This
ever knew that,
this is true.
but he did. It's sometimes running for president is about getting your name out there. Like this guy from this Philip guy from Minnesota. He's more like if he runs, he set himself up for the next 4 years to run again and win
It's
if he
true.
loses this time around.
He would definitely
So
be a lot better off at that point. But
yeah, I think Amy would do better if she would actually run again and take the loss this time. But this time she'll get more of a national name.
I think she's older than you think she is, though. She's kind of old, and she's like Elizabeth Warren with less charisma, in my opinion.
Apparently, she is
Which 65, 70?
63.
Is it
Perfect age to
63?
be president.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like the 70 is when you start getting put in that old category.
yeah,
You're at that 70. A lot of people don't like you being 70 as president. That's
yeah.
what killed John McCain when he ran, because John McCain was 72 years old at the time he ran for president against Barack Obama, and that was going to be a tighter race than it was until he put Sarah Palin on the ticket. And when
This
you
is
put
true.
Sarah Palin on the ticket, people were like, "Bro, you're 72 years old. If you ever croak, which he didn't, but if you ever croak, Sarah Palin's going to be president." Nah, it killed his
She's a
ticket.
quack.
Yeah, he killed it. And
She's
so
she was Trump before Trump.
she
My
was
parents loved her.
good old Sarah Palin, Alaska's
I can
governor.
see Alaska from my house. Oh yeah.
What's your foreign policy experience? I can see Russia. It's like,
Oh, that's I said Alaska. Well,
yeah.
I
I was like,
can
wait,
see Russia from my house.
is she gonna be president? Like, no, we can't do
And
it.
Alaska's like, I think that's less than 1 million people, isn't it? It's a
City of Tampa is bigger than Alaska.
yeah,
Whole
for real.
population, the whole state. So, what I'm looking at is when people look at presidents, 70 is that age where it's like, you know what, we just can't do it, and that's what's killing Biden right now. He's a good president. No one can sit to say he hasn't done a lot as
He is the
president.
most progressive president since LBJ.
Yeah, he's done a lot, but the problem is he's just so old, and it's like, man, and people don't want to risk it when you're that old
Yeah, just
because they're
doesn't
like,
look good as the face of the party. Trying to stand up against Trump's. Dude, I talk to Uber drivers like all the time. Like
yeah,
I just always talk about politics, and they'll be like,
yeah,
"Oh, Biden's a weak president. He's so weak. If it wasn't for if it wasn't anybody but Biden, Putin wouldn't have invaded Ukraine. Blah 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 blah." Like,
it's not
even if
true.
that's not true, that's the perception.
The
That's not
truth, the, the
perception.
truth is, Putin doesn't like Democrats. He's never liked Democrats.
Yeah, yeah, of
Every
course.
time the Democrats in office, he does something like this.
Yeah.
It's that's what Putin does. It's not, it has nothing to do with Biden. It's just
It's
more of
not
a,
that it doesn't. It's not because Republicans are better. It's because Republicans like to bomb shit, and he doesn't want to start a war with Republicans. That's doesn't make the Republicans strong. Just makes them unhinged.
no,
Putin's not trying to get in a fist fight with an unhinged crazy person.
no. I don't think that it's like it's a more of a he don't think Democrats are strong because I mean he didn't pull anything with Obama.
Yeah, well, didn't
He did.
he invaded Crimea?
Yeah, he did actually. Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I said, he always does this for Republican
or Democrats.
presidents. I'm shooting. Thank you, Democrat presidents. It's just the way he does it because he knows Democrats are not going to start a preemptive war
Yeah,
because Democrats tend to be nationalists. Really, we're not really.
that's not what the nationalism means. Democrats tend to be like foreign policy
No,
dumb.
when I mean nationalists, I mean economic nationalists. I understand
That's
that
not what
they're
that's not what nationalism is like. It's Trumpism.
no, no,
Nationalism
no.
is like
So
China's nationalist, Putin's
what I mean by,
nationalist.
let me see if I can explain it. Nationalism, yes, the Republicans hijacked it by saying, "Oh, we're America first" is nationalism. That's what they say.
Well, that's what
But
nationalism is.
but when you
Nationalism.
look at economics of the Republican Party, a lot of it is relied on foreign stuff. Like they heavily invest in oil, they heavily invest in a lot of international trade. They do Saudi deals, they do certain deals that are pro business, which is usually has a global implication. Democrats tend to focus more on the inner, on economically wise, creating more American jobs, creating industries in America. You know, politically, yeah, we try to Democrats try to be on the same page of certain big issues that we can't obviously handle, like climate change. We need other
Yeah.
partners. So we get this notion that Democrats are they're globalists, and it's like not really. There's certain issues that we are global in, but for the most part, if you look at our economic policies, we tend to be more nationalists because we try to build the middle class through economic social programs in America.
I don't think
We
that's
don't.
nationalist. The Democrats are they're an internationalist party, and they're globalist, and they do a lot of foreign. They're very free trade. They're very they'll
I think
send
that
a lot of diplomacy that they'll do with a lot of other countries. They just actually do focus on America, while the Republicans don't focus at all about domestic policy in the United States. That's the issue. It's not that Democrats are not focused on international affairs. It's Republicans don't give a shit and want to just pose to the rest of the world that they're a big strong man and they want to
mhm,
control global affairs and interfere in other countries and stuff like that. So they're more concerned with like defending us against foreign powers, while the
yeah,
United States is trying to build us up as a contending power, like from an economic standpoint.
mhm,
So it's nationalism is like we care about the American people. If you were born and raised here, we're gonna care a lot more about you. We're gonna defend you. You can trust Big Daddy State. We have your best interests at heart. We're gonna protect. They're a lot more isolationist in the sense that like they
so
don't.
I think that's the word that
Yeah,
most Republicans are. They're
yeah.
isolationists, but they're not nationalists. They just believe that.
Republicans are definitely nationalists.
Well, they believe. Okay, so they believe in American first
You want to see?
policy. But
I'll pull up the definition.
because if you look at what I know they say they are, but when let's look up. It's right. That's a good thing. Let's pull up the definition of what it is and see if they really fall in that category.
Nationalism is like it's like a right wing
No, they
ideology.
adopted it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that
Like
when they
national, it's like national socialism was a problem because the nationalist part. It's the idea. Do you right? The nation should be
I can see
congruent with the
that
state. Okay. Um, they're
the
really
new thing
concerned
solely
with.
mainly in terms of competitive
Uh,
prestige.
okay, let's see.
See that
That's not that
definition there?
helpful. I'm looking for something more
Well,
helpful.
yeah.
Oh, let's see. Terminology. I don't know. Democrats are more concerned with like nationalists to be very into immigration because immigrants are not Americans. They're not, you
I
know.
think that's the word. I think they call it nationalism, but really what it is isolationism. They don't believe in anybody else outside of people.
Nationalism often go hand in hand, although nationalists tend to
They're used
also be
interchangeably, but they're
imperialists.
different. I think
So
nationalism, and my perception of and definition of the word, is someone their policies are geared towards building up the country itself, versus an isolationist. Just their main focus is to make sure that they're not dependent on anything foreign. We don't have any immigrants. We are everything is going to be built by America. Those are isolationists.
here, this
Those are
part
people.
says the two main types of nationalism are ethnic nationalism, which I think part of the distinction is in Europe, when they're a nationalist, they tend to be ethnic nationalists because usually if you're a French person, you're in France, you care
Yeah.
about like French ethnically people, but people who are ethnically French. United States is a little different. They're civic nationalists, and they care. It's a little different because there's not a natural American. Everybody's descendant of immigrants, so they're more concerned about the American identity and protecting
Hmm.
like American exceptionalism, those kind of concepts. And nationalism, if it's about actually help, there's like left wing nationalist groups, and nationalism can be like in Ireland, an Irish nationalist, they
Hmm.
would be like, you know, trying to reform the Irish Republic, because there's Northern Ireland, which is a part of the UK, and then there's like the Irish Republic. So it's like unite. We want to unite the island again, become an Irish republic. They're more concerned about like reuniting and forming a national identity. Well,
Yeah.
nationalism can generally lead to a lot of like, it's literally the main problem of the National Socialists in Nazi Germany. They're concerned about if they were ultra nationalists. That's how they're described. So they're even farther than like a standard Trump nationalist. They're like we want to purge our state of anybody who's not ethnically German, and we want to revive our national identity. Like that's the pure form of nationalism. So there's some more mild forms of nationalism that have some benevolent parts, but generally nationalism is not a very good ideology. But it doesn't just mean like we want to help our national interests, because most countries care about the national interests above
Yeah.
international affairs. But it would just be
But
like
but that's
it's
what I'm saying. Republicans say
exclusion.
that. Republicans say that, but when you look at their policies, it's pro business, and more businesses are more globalized. And when you see what they're trying to do, they try to make a focus centered policy focused on business, and
Yeah.
those businesses tend to be global businesses and end up being globalists. And Republicans don't try to be
Yeah.
globalists, but they are because they have
Well, the,
to.
the Republicans are split in that way.
Yeah,
Like the Bush era neoconservatives were not necessarily nationalists in the same way. They were like neoliberal economic conservatives with imperialist tendencies. You know what I mean? And they have a lot more internationally affairs focused. While the Trump era, they're more nationalists. They're like, let's get Let's raise the tariffs against China. We don't want global trade. We want just to buy American products. Let's get out of foreign policies, even if the rest of the world falls upon itself and self-destructs, because we just care about spending our own money on ourselves, but not really spending our own money. We don't want to spend any money. We just the Republicans are kind of contradictory in that way, but yeah, I would definitely describe the Trump people as nationalists, and those are probably the only nationalist group in the United States is the Trump people, which kind of leads me to our point is let's see what Jesse truly is. Right?
Okay.
You're a nationalist.
That's a perfect segue. You're getting those segues down there.
It's leading to it. We're talking about political ideology, and let's see what Jesse really is. And me, I mean, I've taken it a ton of times, and I'll post my result too. But let me, you can summarize what you think about what I just said. By the way, I didn't mean to just cut it off.
I agree with your analysis. I think my opinion is I think that a lot of Republicans hijack certain words, and they're real. If you really look deep in their policies, a lot of it's not really actually aligned with the words they're saying. And so when I look at some of the policies that are, in fact, they call themselves nationalists, but a lot of their policies are geared towards globalized businesses. And so they end up having more of an effect on I guess globally than anything. I mean, when you look at NAFTA and Trump renegotiating that had an effect on Mexico, Canada, and everyone else when he's doing the tariff as a direct impact. Chinese goods coming in and how much we pay for things. And so a lot of his policies were national. They were national, but really they were kind of global. They had global implications to them.
Yeah, they had populist rhetoric and nationalist intentions, but at the end of the day, capitalist global interests kind of take over, and it doesn't really matter your policy intentions because the moneyed interests behind the Republican parties have investments in all these countries around the world, and they are caring a lot more about their own personal profit. And if it saves them money to offshore these companies and buy cheaper labor from Thailand or wherever they undercut workers, you know what I mean? If they can pay their factory work a lot less by buying international goods, then that's the move for them. So generally, right-wing ideologies don't really lead to good kinds of nationalism. Anyways, this is kind of interesting. This first question kind of serves what we were just talking about. If economic growth is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. It's kind of a slam dunk question.
All right, let's see. Economic globalization is inevitable. It should primarily serve in the interest of transnational corporation. It's not a really cut and dry. I mean, I think there's.
You don't think so?
It's not a cut and dry. Economic
globalization is inevitable. It is. It should serve humanity the interest of transnational corporations, right? Instead of these corporations who want to, screw over the environment or exploit workers, etc. It should probably serve humanity instead of the transnational corporations. This is probably the easiest question on the test, in my opinion.
I'm trying to think, because it's the reason why I'm having a hard time with that one is because a transnational corporation usually create jobs. So I feel like it's not a cut and dry because I think it should show both interests. It should both. I think it's
but it says primarily. You know what I mean? It doesn't, and it's also like it's putting them at odds. Essentially, it should serve them instead of. If it doesn't serve humanity, it serves transnational corporations instead. But I know what you mean. Some of them definitely create jobs in China. It's better for China to be economically developed so that the people aren't suffering from poverty.
I would put agree.
Agree? All right.
Not strongly agree, but agree because it's.
I personally would put strongly agree. But
I know you did.
I'll say my answer after you pick your answer.
Okay.
Here, I'm gonna take mine on the side. All right, I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong.
Strongly agree.
Strongly agree.
Yeah.
Whether even if it was wrong,
Yeah.
if the United States was doing a genocide, you'd support them doing the genocide.
I would vote the people out who did it, but I wouldn't, you know, go against my country.
Okay,
But I would definitely be voting for the next guy for them all to be fired.
that's fair.
Yeah.
If I lived in communist China and I hated my government, I would not support my government. You
That's
know
a
what I
little bit
mean?
different. You gotta, yeah,
No,
that's different.
really. It says
Well, they have no power to vote.
okay. Doesn't say if you have the power to vote. It just says if you would always support your country whether it was right or wrong.
I will support it in its stance it takes, but I would vote them out the moment that I don't support the stance they take. In China, it's a little bit different because they have no choice. It's like whatever your government say yes or no, uh, you have to
They
go
do
with
have
it.
elections in China. It's
It's
the
a
Communist
farce.
Party, and party kind of only gets to choose their leadership from within, essentially. So, all right, I got you. I
Yeah.
personally would do uh, disagree for
Okay.
myself. I would not support them if they were wrong.
Yeah.
It's not like I would rescind uh, my
But that's what that question
citizenship,
goes to. Like,
but I would
would
not
you like
support them
rescind
doing
your
the wrong.
citizenship? Because it's just like if you won't support your country, matter do right. Like Iraq, we were wrong.
Yeah,
Afghanistan, we were wrong. Iraq
and I don't
again, we were
support
wrong.
in the Vietnam War. I would support the
Wrong.
Viet Cong in their resistance to United States imperialism. You know what I mean? I wouldn't rescind the United States. I wouldn't wish bad things in the United States, but I don't support their actions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I view it.
Yeah, like our government could be wrong in certain positions they take,
Yeah.
but doesn't mean I'm going to go against my country. You just vote them out. That's the power of the
I
vote.
mean,
That's why we're just different.
again, by go against, I don't see it like you must wish your country to fall apart. It's like support their actions. I would.
Well, that's how that question's written. You all is like I'm not going to topple the government because I don't like the
Yeah,
government.
that's
I just vote them out.
I'm not saying you would like sell secrets to Russia just because they did something you didn't like. I would just say I don't support that. I don't support
Yeah.
my government's actions. So that's how I see it. I would slightly disagree instead of I wouldn't strongly disagree, but I disagree. All right, no
Okay.
one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it.
Oh, strongly disagree. If you're not proud of your country, then means you're not part of your culture. You're not part of the idealisms. I no.
No one. Let me
It's
reread
foolish.
this. It's foolish to be proud of it. Yeah, I would just say disagree for myself. You know,
Yeah.
if you,
Yeah. Someone who says
I do see like is super like making your identity a part of being an American or something like that. Like anything America does, like this is what I did. This is my team. It's like, bro, you just were born in a patch of sand. Like it doesn't mean anything. But at the same time, like if you live in a country that it's not foolish. It's
no.
just
So
like you
for
shouldn't be foolish because you're born there or whatever, or you shouldn't be proud just having being an American or whatever. You know?
I just think that you should be proud of any country that you come from. Like my parents come from Haiti, and so they still like a lot of the Haitian culture in my upbringing. Just like your family comes from Ukraine, they a lot of that you may not know is coming from Ukraine, but a lot of those ideologies probably came from Ukraine, and so then we meet up and we have this common ideology, which is America, and we take our ideas from our cultures, we mix it with the American culture and ideas, and that's what makes America beautiful because we take each other's different genetics, ethics, and cultural ethics, and we combine together to make America. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, anyone should be proud of what they come from. I mean, the difference.
I mean, not the North Koreans. If you were aware of
No, even
what's
North
going on in
Koreans.
North
Like I would say, if as a North Korean, you should be proud of your country. Is your country doing the wrong thing? Yes. Should your country be rebuked among the world? Yes. But for you to sit there and say you're not proud to be a North Korean, it's weird. It's like you have to be proud.
I don't know. I disagree with that.
No, it's like
I don't think you should be proud to be part of an oppressive country. You know what I mean?
I mean,
You can be proud of your family, proud of this and that, but being part of a government that is oppressive and evil,
yeah,
you
but
should have
before,
no pride in
well,
that.
okay, let's think of it this way. Before there was the communist government, there was another form of government in Korea. There's another form of government in China. There was another form of government in America.
Yeah.
We haven't always been democratic. We've been monarchs, and we're under
Yeah.
monarch rule. So we can't sit there and say, "Well, I'm not proud of my country because I don't like the way the government is going." It's like, no, the government's the
I
government.
agree.
You
What
know.
is the country if it's not the government and the rules and I mean, it's not just a patch of land.
Hmm.
You know, patch of land is a patch of land.
I
The
think countries.
country or Kashmir is a patch of land, but it's not a part of any country necessarily. They're fighting over land disputes. If
I don't.
you know what I mean, the country is the government that protects the country. It's not just the land itself. So
Oh well,
if you
I think country is culture. I think country is
well, the
like
United States is a
here.
bunch of different cultures. It's not just
Yeah, but
they're
we have
called
a
American.
common. I would say United States is the rebel. We are the rebel culture. We are rebels from other states and other countries and
Sure.
come together and create this melting pot and soup of cultures, and we call it America. And that's what we're
Yeah.
proud of it. It's like, bro, I can hang out with a Mexican, I can hang out with a Ukrainian tomorrow, I can hang out with the Dominican or Cuban, and it's like, it's like we're all American. Even though your ancestries and your ethics are different than mine, but we have a commonality, which is America, our foundation.
So if you
So
have
I
a really
mean,
bad culture, it's not something to be proud of. You know,
if you're in a bad
a
culture,
really
like, okay, so
racist, oppressive culture. You know, I wouldn't be proud of it.
you have to, well, the culture. Well, if your culture is racist, then I'm not gonna say you have to be proud of the that aspect of your culture, because every culture there are flaws in every culture. Like even my culture, in America, we have flaws. We come from a racist past.
Yeah.
Um, we come from stereotypes. You know, I mean, those are things that are negatives in every culture.
Hmm.
But it's just like a relationship sometimes. Yeah, are you proud of your girlfriend? Yes, but if she does things, or boyfriend, does they do things that are just like, bro, I really don't think that's cool. Like,
Hmm.
that's what happens. We're in a
Well,
relationship.
pride to me seems more like a form of approval. Are you proud of it? Do you support them? Do you support their actions? I am proud of what they do.
Well,
That's
if
how I
you're
view
talking
it.
about supporting the government, then yes,
Well, I
I
view
would
the
be proud.
government as the country. Personally, we kind of disagree about that.
Yeah, I think it's government as the culture.
Well, I think if we didn't have the American government, we wouldn't be a country. We would just be a part of the world, a piece of land. The country is the government that we form, in my
I
opinion.
think, well, I can see that position. I can understand that position.
So,
I believe that it all starts with culture first,
sure.
and then the culture develops.
Culture shapes the government, I think.
Yeah,
And
that's why
government shapes the culture.
exactly, because I think that the culture of America when they started this country was, why are we being told what to do by some guy half across the world? That's stupid,
Yeah, I agree.
and that's the rebel culture in us.
I do
And then
like that kind of that side of us.
yeah, and the civil rights were like, black people were like, why are we being oppressed? And we walk with 2 feet. We do everything like white people can do here in America, but we're treated as second class citizens.
Hmm.
And so we rebelled, and we have a rebellious spirit. That's just our culture as Americans. We don't believe in, we believe in challenging norms, and we believe in challenging ideas that doesn't fit the
Yeah.
ultimate pursuit of happiness. And that's just who we are as our culture.
I just
And
definitely think it's easier to say you're proud of the United States than it would be to say that you're proud of North Korea, you know?
it's of course it's easier to say that. It's like they're communists.
I don't think North Korea is remotely communist.
Oh yeah, the authoritarian.
They're a totalitarian
They're
government that
totalitarian.
they're basically a monarchy, you know what I mean? They don't have any they're economic, it's just economic and cultural totalitarianism. There's not like any sort of side to it, really. You know what I mean? They call themselves Marxist Leninists. That's just because he fucking adores Stalin. So I don't think they have any real communist side to them, other than like You don't need economic rights. I don't know.
Yes,
Anyways, let's move on. We want to get through this. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races.
no, so I disagree.
Yeah, that's an easy question.
Yeah.
I don't really have to discuss that. The enemy of this one I could go either way. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I strongly agree.
Strongly agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You must know you keep your enemies. I always believe in keeping your enemies close.
I'm in between agree and disagree. I personally would say disagree because the enemy of your enemy is somebody you could work with, but I think friendship is something that's more earned. I think an ally I don't think we should be buddies up with Saudi Arabia just because they don't trust Iran. I think Saudi Arabia is also somebody not to trust. So I kind of have a little bit of hesitancy over the use of who we're allied with. But I also see it's better to be allied with a country even that you disagree with so that you have more diplomacy and you have more influence over them. So I could see it going either way.
Yeah.
But I would probably
I take the latter position, what you just said.
Yeah, that's fair. I respect that too. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified.
Disagree.
With that. I mean, I agree with what you said. I disagree. Because theoretically, if international law was wrong and you ain't, it's fine to defy it. But there's not really a situation in which international law is being oppressive towards you. Anything the United States could do, like if you defy international law, you done fucked up.
Yeah.
So there's now, this one's interesting too. There's now worrying fusion between information and entertainment.
Totally agree.
That's fair. I would probably put agree because I do
let
think
politicians be politicians. Let politicians be politicians. Let entertainers be entertainers.
Yeah, I think politicians should be entertaining, and it's helpful to, get an audience by that. But I think there's a point in which people like Marjorie Taylor Greene are more entertainers than they are spreaders of information. You know what I mean? They're kind of they're just there to appease conservatives' egos. Like, yeah, you tell them, Queen, just spreading misinformation left and right. Yeah, and most of right-wing information is just for entertainments. Doesn't Fox News have to classify themselves as entertainments or something, not as news, because they knowingly don't spread the news. Exactly. So next page. Oops. People are ultimately more divided by class than nationality.
Yes, totally agree.
I would put strongly agree. You said
no, I put
yes, you mean agree, right?
No,
you put strongly agree as well? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I got you. All right. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment.
I disagree.
Disagree. Unemployment's more important.
Yeah.
I could go either way with this one. Inflation, I mean, a small amount of each is not that big of a deal. Giant unemployment is not good for the country, but it is reversible. You can fix that and have more employment with certain policies. Inflation is not really something you can reverse, though. If you're Zimbabwe and you are now printing $100 trillion bills and handing them out to people, you kind of it affects more people, and certain unemployment affects a small subset of people. Even having a 4% unemployment is not 4% of the population. It's only 4% of people that are counted in the employment stats. So I think inflation affects more people, but unemployment is more decimating towards their personal lives of the individuals affected. So it could go either way.
Yeah.
Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation.
Strongly agree.
That's I agree with that. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is fundamentally a good idea.
I'm trying to understand that. From each
That is it's actually a Marxist like
or
saying. It
each.
means like um, from each according to his ability. It was kind of like to work, you get to earn money, and now it's according to his need. It's more like should we like prioritize people's needs and their abilities, market value, essentially.
I think people are talented in what they're talented in, and sometimes that defies the need of a society. So I would disagree with the statement.
Wait, let me see if I explain that right. From each according to his ability, each according to his need. I feel like it's kind of hard to interpret, but it's more of a. I personally strongly agree. I think like we need to prioritize people's basic human needs before
I
just
read that as
decide
the
or give
government
people.
needs. I read that as if the government needs something, then that's the priority, even though you don't have the ability to, even though your abilities may be in something else.
I'm sorry.
Right?
Can you restate that?
The thing is, the government needs. I think Cuba does this a lot. They need 500 teachers, right? Jay, am
Yeah.
I explaining this correctly? I don't think she's listening to me, but I'll explain. I'll do the best I can to explain it. I'm going to try to explain this thing. I want to make sure I'm correct.
Okay.
In Cuba, they need 500 teachers. So no matter what, they're going to assign to become a teacher, the 500 that they need. They don't. If you have the ability to be something else, doesn't matter because
I
the
don't think
country.
that's what the question is asking. I think it's more like how does society prioritize like how we determine value for somebody or like how we distribute resources. Not like
Exactly.
should we mandate government or people to do a job they're not good at. I think it's like, oh, this person has the ability to earn money, therefore they should have all the free access to earn however much money and control they can if they're capable and self-sustaining. Well, then there's it's should we prioritize people based on their needs? Some people are disabled, some people are not able to work because they're mothers. You know what I mean? They don't have the ability to produce an income the same way. So we should prioritize people's needs first. That's how I view it.
Yeah, I see it. I interpret it differently. I think it's. I'm gonna have to put
Okay.
this.
You said
Yeah,
disagree? Okay. All right. Free market, the freer the people.
disagree. There's got to be some limitations on the market because that's how you get price gouging.
I personally put agree,
Really,
but that's because I interpret free market in a
that's
different way. I don't see
it's different.
I don't see, yeah, well, I don't see, a corporation consolidating wealth and power and not competing in society as a free market. I see a free market as something free for consumers, free for workers, free for small businesses to compete against big businesses that dominate the market. Just like free competition. It's basically a utopian, perfect functioning society as a free market, which I don't think an unregulated economy is a free market. That's how a left libertarian would interpret it. So I'd put agree because it's not like free. It's not like markets are more important than people essentially. But I do think the freer the market, the less controlled it is by a smaller group of people, the freer the people. That's how I view it. But I see both ways because you could just see it as like a free market means unregulated capitalism, and then I would disagree.
Exactly. That's how I see it.
All right. It is a sad reflection on our society. It's something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled branded consumer product.
Yeah. So like environmental science professor. Yeah,
Is it?
he used to hate bottled water.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's a lot of wasted plastic in that, but
Yeah.
there's also some utility to it. Like it's a lot easier to like some people like we send bottled water to like countries that have droughts and stuff like that. It's a good way to hand out money. I don't know. It's wasteful too, but there's marginal benefit I see. But so I probably did I skip past it? I would probably put A slight agree.
I don't. I will be a hypocrite if I say it's a slight reflection, because honestly, I buy Fiji water every time I come back from the gym. So I can't sit there and say that's a slight reflection.
You could agree and be a hypocrite, but whatever you think. You said disagree then?
Just say disagree. I'm not gonna say strongly disagree. I just don't want to be a hypocrite because I drink the water. I drink bottled water.
I respect that. It should not be a commodity to be bought and sold.
Disagree.
I put agree because more like philosophically, I don't think land should be a commodity. I don't think anybody can truly own land, but also realistically, we're in a situation in which people do own land, and we can sell land. I'm more like a mutualist perspective where I think people have a right to use land, and they should have like a land grant. Like, you were granted this amount of land during your lifetime, essentially. I don't think you can. It's not a commodity. It's not something that should be owned. But that's my idealized side of it in the perspective. So I'd put like a slight disagree personally, but
land shouldn't be commodity. Land shouldn't be commodity to be bought and sold. All right, what's next?
It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who manipulate money, read nothing to their society.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's regrettable that many, I'm assuming not all, personal fortunes are made by people simply manipulate money and contribute to their society. I would put contribute nothing.
People contribute nothing to their society.
Okay, I gotta go. Let me reason with this. I have to go to the billionaires of America, and what have they done to society? Elon Musk.
It does say people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing. It doesn't say they have contributed some. So maybe the question kind of a leading question, but
yeah, it's kind of a bad question, but okay. Lawyers know how to answer bad questions. It's regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. If this is the person that did that, then I would agree. I don't know who's done this, but if the statement relies on someone to be that, then sure.
Basically, describing Donald Trump.
Yeah, if they're describing Donald Trump, then I agree. Describing Elon Musk, I disagree.
You kind of. I feel like Elon Musk hasn't really contributed to society either, but
he just invests money. He's created cheap electric cars, which
he didn't do it.
What do you mean?
His engineers did it. He doesn't know shit. He just pays people to do it, and those people would have done it if a different billionaire owned them instead. Elon Musk is the money that he owns.
Well, no, I agree, but he's the one who did it though. So you got to say based on that question, he used his personal fortune to manipulate the money and contribute to his society. That's exactly what he did.
I don't think that's what they mean by manipulate money, but yeah, I see what you mean. I feel you're like a slight agree.
I slightly agree to the people who do that, but it's a poor.
Because there's definitely people who do that too, like just people who just trade stocks and exploit people and petty, basically the Wolf of Wall Street people.
I agree.
They just make a bunch of money, make a personal fortune. They contribute nothing. They just manipulate money. Buying, selling stocks is helpful. I mean, we need stocks, but just like to buy the stock, it's going to earn a personal fortune and then sell it tomorrow. That's not really helpful to anybody.
No.
That's how I see it. Protectionism is sometimes in trade.
I agree.
Which would be like tariffs, less international trade, more isolationism, essentially.
Well, not really. I just look at it as in terms of negotiation. You have to protect your interest in any negotiation. Every negotiation should have a win-win. So when we're negotiating with China, we should be losing things.
I feel like if it said tariffs are sometimes necessary in trade, that's what you're about to describe. But protectionism is more like we don't want to trade. We just want to produce goods domestically and only buy American, do not buy from other. It's not trying to just lower their tariffs, because that would be a globalist incentive, because you're trying to get other countries to buy from you. Protectionism is just like, we don't want the foreign policy or foreign governments to influence our economy at all. We just want us to just trade amongst each other and not talk to anybody.
Well, how do we trade amongst each other? Doesn't make any sense.
Exactly, and I agree.
Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. I'm assuming they're saying that we're protecting our own interest in a trade, but if they're not saying that and they're saying not
economic
at all,
protectionism is an economic philosophy of like, just, it would be like North Korea. They're a protectionist economy. They don't really trade. They are just producing stuff domestically. You know what I mean? They're protecting the local businesses, because they don't have to compete with other businesses across the world. So protectionism is an economic policy or whatever, or perspective.
So I guess I'll go agree here.
Yeah, just agree or strongly agree?
Yeah, agree.
Okay.
Just because I can't say strongly, because I really differ opinions depending on the perspective.
The only social responsibility of any should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders.
False. Strongly disagree.
Strongly? Gotcha. I agree with your statement.
Yeah.
The rich are too high.
Disagree. The rich are too highly taxed. I think that they're taxed. I mean, they're getting there. I'm not gonna lie. Once you get to 50%, it gets a little ridiculous. But I mean, I don't think they should be paying 20.
It's like, yeah. I don't think they're even paying 50. You know what I mean? They're always finding ways.
Yeah, like
their effective tax rate might be this, but that. But like with all the loopholes and deductions, they're not paying even what they're stated to pay.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that a legit flat tax at 40% will be enough. But no one ever pays it. The way our tax code is written, no one ever pays 40%.
Yeah.
All right.
Those with the ability to pay should have higher or access to higher standards of medical care.
Strongly disagree.
That's fair, especially higher standards. It makes it seem like to an extent, I think there's a form of commodification. I think there's ways you can have private insurers on top of a Medicare for all system, like in Canada, and there's some form of private health insurance that's helpful, but higher standards of medical care, that seems higher standards, that just makes it sound like you're like, we're gonna give you the lower quality stuff because you can't.
Yeah, the lower quality doctors because you don't have money. That's BS.
I agree with you. Government should penalize businesses, lead the public.
I don't really like government regulating. I agree. Not strongly agree, but I do agree. There has to be some kind of accountability, but I don't want the government to be running rapid.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be like micromanaging, make sure everything is exactly as advertised or everything. Yeah, I don't think we need to micromanage. But like if you're intentionally misleading, like it's fraud.
Exactly.
Fraud is obviously a problem.
Yeah.
This is kind of what I was talking about with the free market, my view. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predatory multinationals to create monopolies. So like a genuinely free market requires regulation. That's kind of my view.
The genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability. No, because that wouldn't make it that. Then it's not a free market. That doesn't make any sense. If you're regulating
it would be a free market if monopolies controlled the market. It's not a free market. It's a consolidated market where the monopolies control everything. Free market would be, I'm free, you're free, we're all free. That's what freedom is, right? So if you wanted to create a competitive, fair environment, it would be free for everybody. It would require restrictions on the ability of multinational corporations to control and monopolize there's no free market where monopolies control everything. That wouldn't be a free market, even in the capitalist sense.
I don't really like government controlling industries too much, but I don't believe that industries can govern themselves because they're profit driven. So I think I agree. Not strongly agree, but I agree.
Yeah, you're not fully on board with the idea of the free market part of it, but you definitely think we need restrictions on the predatory multinational corporations that try to create monopolies. Definitely.
Yeah, because competition does help. I mean, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie, but too much regulations samples. For example, just I was thinking about this the other day. It's like all these consolidations that these companies are trying to do right now are being stopped by the Biden administration. I get it. It's great that the Biden is being tough on mergers and acquisitions and stopping a lot of these things, but a lot of these mergers and acquisitions really are based on the time that we're in right now. Like tech companies are taking over, and some of these mergers need to make these companies more competitive, but they're
Yeah.
stopping it because of the cost consolidation. And so that's when I'm really not on board with government stifling growth. But I also know that you can let companies run rampant and do
I
their
don't
own
think
thing.
that you should have zero companies able to like combine themselves or whatever, like go together. Like maybe that works in some situation, but it says this one is again kind of a leading question. But
Mm.
predatory multinational corporations to create monopolies, yeah, they should not do that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't create a monopoly by multinational corporations coming together. That's definitely true. So I'd probably put strongly agree, but I understand your hesitancy.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're moving on to social issues. We're more than halfway done.
Okay.
Abortion when the woman should always be illegal.
Abortion, when it comes to women life, is not threatened. Okay. Abortion, when the woman life, I disagree. I actually strongly disagree with that statement. I think that's between you and whatever your faith is.
I agree with you. There's an extent where like late term abortion is kind of like I don't know. I think a child's probably alive at some point in there. I don't think it's the second you're born you're alive. Then it happens a little bit before that, and I think child deserves autonomy at some if you're viable outside the womb, but
Yeah.
but also in reality, there's not really nobody's doing late term abortions. If
Yeah.
it happens, it's because of medical reasons. A woman's
Mhm.
life is like it's kind of a weird question because it's like in the late term abortion, like that only happens when a woman's life is threatened or the child is like not gonna make it or like have serious problems like immediately and probably die like a week later. Like that's when it actually happens. Nobody's like carrying a child for 9 almost and they're like, you know what? Nah, let's take this baby out. That doesn't happen. So
Nah.
if you created like restriction on that, all you're gonna do is like just create more issues with people who actually have medical issues and medical problems with abortions. So I would also strongly disagree. It should not be illegal.
Mhm.
All authority should be questioned.
I agree.
Agree. I put
Mhm.
strongly agree. I don't think any form of authority is inherent. And it doesn't say all authority is like unjust. It's just to be questioned. You should always be skeptical of presumed authority.
Yeah, but I mean, authority is necessary because you cannot run anything without some hierarchy of leadership, and that's why I don't say.
Meritocracy.
Yeah, you need it.
You need
Um,
meritocracy. You don't really need like a hierarchy of like power or rights or
well,
freedoms or
yeah,
anything.
there's some kind of organizational structure,
Yeah.
but the problem is, I that's why I say strongly agree because authority should be questioned. I mean, you still have a moral ethic duty.
Oh, you said strongly agree?
No, I agree.
Oh,
And the
just
reason
agree.
why I did not choose strongly agree is because everyone has their own moral ethics, and if whatever you're being commanded to do, it has to be in line with your moral ethics.
Yeah, I
And
guess
so,
you probably shouldn't like just be questioning the authority of like your military officer in battle or something like that. Like I don't know, but yeah, I see what you mean.
mhm.
An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. I
It
understand both of those on
depends.
this
I
one.
mean, that's such a tough question. It's like, do I believe that there should be punishment for what you did? Yes. Do I think that? I don't know. It's a tough one. I gotta say, disagree. Not strongly disagree. I think that
I have the same
there's,
stance.
yeah, I think there's certain things that there should be justification for, but not.
Yeah, I can see like if a military, if a country bombs you, you can't just be like, oh shoot, that happened. Oh, let's just
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, you shouldn't just like do roll over and like cry about it. Like you should
Yeah, but
probably retaliate and show like you can't mess with us. But at the same time, like
you don't drop two atomic
What
bombs.
did Gandhi say? If man gouges out your eye and you gouge out their eye, like the entire world is blind or something like that. It's like the Jesus stand. Like yeah,
Yeah. Turn on a cheek.
yeah, and no crime is like two wrongs don't make a right. You know, just because somebody did something to you doesn't give you the right to something just as bad to them. So I mean, there's an extent in which you need to like, well, we're not gonna do the same. We're not gonna stoop to their level, but also don't be ridiculous. Roll over and let terrorists do whatever they are gonna do just because they like don't want to retaliate or whatever. I don't know. All right, the taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. I don't know
I
how I
strongly
feel
disagree.
about this. I
I believe,
disagree.
yeah, as an artist or a musician,
Okay,
I believe the arts are very important.
that's fair.
Yeah.
I probably would be like, I'm really right in the middle. Like, I don't, I don't know. Do we really need any theaters that nobody's really interested in? Like, nobody gives a shit about it. Why are we propping it up? If there's a museum that nobody's going to this museum, like we can take these artifacts and put them somewhere else. We don't have to prop up the museum or whatever. But at the same time, like, it's, you know, what are you gonna just let? I don't know. Maybe I'd lean towards agree. It's marginal for me. I respect your stance as an artist, though.
Mm.
Maybe I just don't care that much about museums. It's probably true. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory.
School should not make classroom attendance compulsory. What does that even mean?
I think it's more like a legal stance. Like if
Compulsory means that it has to be something has to be related. I don't understand that. That
what do you
doesn't
mean?
make any sense. Like the statement compulsory is something that's related. That's the word. That's how
Compulsory
it's.
means by force. Like the child must be in school, and like you must have good attendance. And if like they miss a certain amount of days, like we're gonna come after your parents. And I don't know.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
more like should the government force you to be in school, kind of, or
Yes.
not even be in school. Force classroom attendance. So like, should you be you have to be in school a certain amount, or we're gonna like send the cops and like arrest your parents or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So strongly agree.
Strongly agree
Mm-hmm.
that they should not make it compulsory.
Oh, strongly disagree.
That's
It should make
I
it.
thought you were leaning that way. I would put
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
put agree, but I understand what you're saying. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that will keep to their own kind.
I strongly disagree.
I would probably put disagree. Like if people want to live, if you don't want to live around a bunch of Trump supporters, you should be able to. But at the same time, like having such a bifurcated society is not good for a society, and people need to like understand living around other people kind of gives you an understanding of other people, and they get along a lot better if people live around people that are different from them, essentially. So
Yeah,
I don't think.
I believe in diversity. I think diversity
Me too.
helps. So I just agree with that.
All right, let's see. Good parents sometimes have to spank children.
Yes, strongly agree.
I would put slightly disagree. I think most situations you can just sort of discipline them in different ways, but
Yeah, of course.
I got spanked, and there's definitely situations I'm sure in which it's necessary, but like for the most part, any sort of violence, even if it's
Yeah, I don't
like,
believe in abuse, but I do
yeah,
believe
not abuse, but I mean even like I don't know, there's kind of like a there's it's a fine line.
it's a
Kind
fine
of
line between pain. When I mean spanking, I'm talking about on the bottom with something. I'm
yeah,
not talking about
in like a little tap
whip.
or something like
Yeah,
that.
I'm not talking about like whip, brick,
That's not
or
a problem, but
yeah,
like
that's abuse.
there's
Yeah,
definitely some parents that will lean into that spank. You know what I mean?
yeah, and that's where it's wrong. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I would slightly disagree, but like I understand. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents.
strongly agree.
I'd probably put agree, but that's just because I'm so transparent with my parents, and I'm very like I don't really keep secrets from them. I tell them everything, and I know they're uncomfortable by it, but I don't give a shit. Like I'm just not gonna lie to them. I'm like I do mushrooms, whatever. I know you don't like that. I don't give a shit. But I'm just sort of like a compulsively honest person. So possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense.
Strongly agree.
Easy. The prime functioning of schooling should be to equip future jobs.
Strongly agree.
I would probably put. I'm kind of in the middle because I do think school the prime function of a school should be like you need to serve capitalist interests, and you need to be a good marketing. I think kids should learn how to read. You need to learn how history and society function, and you need the liberal arts. I'm a believer in a lot of these different things. There's a lot of reasons to be in school, just in like you need to serve your corporation when you get out of. But you should definitely be. School should definitely function. I think it's more like a difference between a high school and like a elementary school. You know what I mean? High school, they should probably start equipping you to find jobs, but like I don't think that's the prime functioning. Most K through 12 grades.
I think that your school is gives you foundations of everything you need in life. In addition to that, but the primary function should be to get a job because that's how you could shoot. That's how you make money. That's how you're able to survive.
Like I said, I think plus it's probably the prime function, but like before that, it's not to find a job. It's so you can read it and you can function in society and you
never know what
so
you never know what you like. That's why school is important to get the fundamental basics down, like the arts and the music and the reading and the math and the science and the geometry. This is why you learn what you're into, and then eventually that develops to a job.
Yeah, but not everything is just to find the job. Like you can learn, you can learn about music, history, and stuff like that. Just to be a person that is more educated and knows about. Yeah, I don't think it necessarily has to translate to a job, but
you learn you do these things so that you can find. So when you do these things, you're finding yourself. That's another very primary.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You find it yourself, not necessarily finding a job.
So I guess the prime function of schooling. So I would change my answer to agree. I'll say the primary function in school is not to quit the future to find jobs. The primary function is to find yourself,
I agree with
and
that.
that usually should translate to a job,
I
whatever
actually,
you.
before we discussed this, I was disagree, and I changed to agree. So
Okay.
we both came together on that one.
Yeah.
People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce.
I definitely disagree. That's so messed up.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, there's no, even if you think, like, oh, we should in some way try to inhibit people from getting more mental illnesses spread, like, how are you going to enforce that? You're really going to, like, go into people's houses and be like, put on this condom, sir. Like, this is
Messed up.
ridiculous. The government should not be involved.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's messed up.
The most important thing for children is to accept discipline.
Disagree.
I also put disagree. I think discipline's important, self-control, learning
Mm-hmm.
how to, have some sort of, self-control is kind of the best word, but it's definitely not the most important thing for them to learn, and it's
The most important thing to
discipline,
learn is how to make
love,
decisions.
how to love others.
Love others is important. How to make decisions is just more important.
It's pretty important.
It's pretty important how to make decisions. That's the
Yeah,
primary. I think you should teach your child that, and
teach them to
that
think for
teaches them how to
themselves.
love. You know,
Yeah,
that teaches them how to love. That teaches them how to, do most everything in life. If you teach them how to make decisions.
this is true. A good reasoning process is,
Yeah.
you could just teach someone how to love, and that's good that they love people, but they also can't do anything at all with their life. And a good reasoning process would lead them to love. I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, reality is just like, how do we learn love? Our parents teach us. Would you want that to be done to you? It all goes into
Yeah,
teaching the decision making. So
I agree with you.
important.
I probably wouldn't have came to that conclusion at first by myself. So there are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures.
Yes, it's not agree.
I agree.
I think it's a good point. Or do we answer it?
There are only different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
People are not inherently civilized or savaged. It's more socioeconomic, honestly, like how people are determining these things. People have just different cultures. People have different economic opportunities. That's it. There's no savage people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there might be like a savage individual, like a sociopath.
Yeah,
That's
sociopath,
not.
but I don't think so. I mean, people are different.
People is the people.
Yeah, just and the problem is we got to stop judging. I think as humans, different cultures based on our cultures. Like people have different cultures, and that's just what they grew up in. And I'm
Yeah.
never gonna 100% agree with that culture because guess what? I didn't grow up in that culture, so I'm only gonna take the parts that I can understand, which is really comes from my culture. Everything else is like, that's not really for me because I didn't grow up in that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I said earlier, diversity I think is the keyest thing, the biggest thing for me, and that's why I think being an isolationist in your community is terrible.
Yeah, for sure. Community is really important. And it only functions with everybody who is different coming together. Finding common ground. All right, those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. I don't know if it means support as in like we support your decision or support as in like we should finance you. Either way,
I agree
I'm
with
more
that statement.
my statement or this statement
This statement:
should not
if you're
expect.
able to work and you refuse opportunity, you should not expect society support. I agree.
I would
I
probably
think
put
that's
slight disagree, especially if it means as in like we support your decision. You can do whatever you want. Be able to do whatever you want. Especially, if you had the means to support yourself and you don't want to work, you don't have to work. But also, like, I don't know if it is talking about like, oh, you want to stay home with your children and raise your children. You're able to work. You're a man at work, and you want to
mhm.
raise your child instead of sending them to daycare.
Yeah.
I think I definitely like support, as in like I support you as far
Well,
as
I would
like
support
money.
that, but that's not. I don't think
Yeah,
this question's going. I think it's saying that someone being lazy.
it doesn't
That's a
say
little.
that. Just as they're able to
That's
work
how
and
I'm
produce.
interpreting it. That's how I'm interpreting it. I'm not interpreting it as the guy that wants to stay home to raise his children and educate them.
It just says you are able to work. You refuse the opportunity.
Well, that guy's working though. That guy's working on teaching his child.
That's not what it means by work, though. It means like a job, right?
Yeah, but
If you
that's
were
a
able to
job.
have a job and you choose not to have a job, you shouldn't. You should not expect society support. That's
Well,
how I interpret it.
well, teaching children is a job. That's a full time
Yeah,
job.
but it's not a thing talking about like a paid job and employment.
Yeah,
Right? It doesn't just mean like doing any sort of labored work in any sort of circumstance. Like getting up is work. Getting out of bed.
yeah, that's
I
really good.
don't know.
Yeah, I
Anyways,
think we're like it's like right there in the middle.
yeah.
It's gonna be fact dependent.
All
Okay.
right. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it to keep busy, but to keep busy with more cheerful things.
When you're in trouble, it's better not to think about it. To get busy with more cheerful things. It's probably a true statement. I mean, I don't. I always think about where my troubles, but that's probably because I'm a lawyer.
I
But
flip on this question if
yeah,
I
but
wonder where I'm at in my life.
I think it's you should. That's ideally what you should be trying to do. Um, do I do
I
that? No.
I personally, I mean, I can understand if you're troubled, it's better to just let's get right into it. Let's get right into the details and solve this so I can move forward. But also,
Yeah.
I feel like I do my best reasoning process when I'm in a better state and I'm not stressed out. So maybe it's
Hmm.
better to solve your problems when to like just relax a little bit, like take some time. So maybe it's like it's a procrastination question in my view.
Yeah.
Like, is it better to deal with your problems right away or like when you're able to deal with it? That's how I interpret it. What do you
Hmm.
think?
I think, like I said, I mean, I don't do it. I mean, I'm a lawyer, so I always think about the problems and the
So you
trouble.
put disagree?
But I mean, I think that you should be think about what your for things. So I would agree, but I don't do
Okay.
it. So
That's fine. I think you can answer things you agree with without having to. I think it's okay to be hypocritical sometimes.
yeah, I'm being a hypocrite on that one.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Okay. First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country.
that's just so I disagree. It's not true.
Same. What's good for most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us.
Strongly disagree.
I agree with you. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah,
No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding.
I strongly disagree. I said we
I
have
would probably,
NPR. I said we have
I would probably
NPR.
just
We have
put
a lot
slight
of
disagree
we have
because I don't
C-SPAN.
think I don't want like Chinese government style media where like the government is putting news out there, the government's news. But I don't have a problem with PBS.
I mean,
You
we
know what I
do
mean?
that. PBS, C-SPAN. I mean, NPR.
Yeah, I have no problem with those things. But I also don't want like government media necessarily.
Yeah.
Public funding versus a government mandated media kind of thing. Those are different things. So I'd probably just put disagree personally, but that's just how I'm interpreting it.
Hmm.
I think we're getting down to it. Oh,
Okay.
all right. On civil liberty, or are civil being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism?
Our civil liberties curbed in name. I agree.
I personally agree. Like the
I
Patriot Act,
agree.
TSA, these kind of things
Yeah,
are,
but I agree with you. It's true,
yeah.
but I put agree because those things are necessary sometimes. I mean,
Yeah.
we give up some freedoms
It doesn't.
to
It
be
actually
free.
doesn't say if it's good or not. It just says are our civil liberties being curbed in the name of counterterrorism. You can
Agree. Yeah.
say that that's a good thing if they are, but I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. That's true.
All right. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids arguments that delay progress in a democratic system.
It's not I disagree.
Yeah, that seems pretty obvious.
Yeah.
It's not like Communist Party of China is really like. I mean, that's not a good thing
Yeah.
to avoid arguments. That just means like totalitarianism is just going to take over power. Everybody falls in line to Donald Trump because he's the leader.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easy, only wrongdoers need to be worried.
That's true.
You don't think you should be worried about the government tapping in, violating your privacy and stuff like that?
You should be, and I mean, you would want to stop them from doing it, but here's the thing: it's
I feel like not everybody being
I feel like they've
surveilled
always had the
by the
ability to
government
do it,
is doing
but
wrong.
I feel like they always had the ability to do it. It's not like the government just all of a sudden had all these access because of 9/11. They've been had these access.
Yeah, it doesn't say that.
Uh,
Just although the electronic age makes surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. I'm personally very worried about the
well, it's
government
not.
in my
It's
business, watching and tapping into everything I'm doing, and always
well, they've
listening
always had
on
the
the phone.
they've always had the ability to do that. I mean, I don't think.
I don't think they haven't always, but in the electronic age, sure.
I mean, electronics has been out way before we had electronics, though.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been out for a while, like since 1940,
But
1930.
I don't think only wrongdoers need to be worried. I think they can gather information on anybody, whether or not they did anything right or wrong, and they don't give a shit.
Or a little
That's
electronic.
kind
I
of like
mean,
the Edward Snowden thing.
mm-hmm. Okay, I can see. Yeah, agree.
All right,
Def-
the the death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes.
Uh, it's only one instance I think the death penalty is warranted, and it's very, very minute. It's mass murders.
Yeah,
Every other crime should not have the death penalty associated
I
with it.
just don't think that the government should have the right to execute an unarmed person, and I don't think it makes any sense because like it costs a ton of money, and like it's that's kind of like easy. It's probably worse off to live with the consciousness of having killed a bunch of people than to have the easy way out. Plus, it costs a bunch of money. Plus, I don't want the government to have the right to execute citizens.
It
So I'm
depends.
very much against it on principle, even if
I
they
think
deserve death.
I de- you're hoping that that person has the consciousness to realize they did wrong.
Yeah, even if
A
they
lot of
don't.
mass, a lot of mass murderers don't have the consciousness that they did wrong.
No, I agree with you,
Hence,
but
they want to be mass murderers.
I think like even living in a shitty prison with away from other people is kind of be a worse life than just all right, he's out. It doesn't really help anyway to kill people if they are locked up. It actually costs
Well,
probably more money to just execute them than it does to just keep them there.
like I said, I'm only in favor for one instance, and that's mass murders. I don't believe in any other murder. Like if you kill someone, I don't think you should get death penalty for killing someone. Um, but when you take a life of 20, 30,
Yeah, I understand that.
and that's the
I,
only instance where I feel like it's justifiable.
I absolutely think they deserve it. I just don't. I don't like the slippery slope of the government.
Yeah, I don't either, but I feel like we're very. I like kind of like the way Florida does it, where
Yeah.
we have a trial, and then from there, no, I'm going to tell you what happens.
Okay.
You have a trial, you have a trial. The judge, you found guilty. Then you have to come back. Well, it used to be like that. I think DeSantis, crazy self, changed it. But this is used to be. You used to come back, and then as a jury, you have to have a unanimous vote. It made the death penalty super hard to get for a lot of victims. Some not victims, but a lot of defendants.
I just
So
don't see how it benefits anybody. Like even if they deserve death for
it
what they did,
benefits
I
the
don't see.
family. The family gets
Not
closure.
really. I don't
Well,
think
I
so.
don't know. I've never been involved in a mass shooting. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
gonna
know
lie.
what you mean.
So I can't. From my understanding of it, it gives the
This feels
family
like a
closure.
it is an archaic way of seeing things, of like any sort of death penalty. Like,
I mean, it is archaic. That's why I said I'm
yeah,
only okay with it for one instance. I think every other just being in jail is enough.
yeah.
But I think
Like if
you
that
know,
person got clipped by a cop, like, yeah, they deserve that for sure. But
yeah,
if we have them arrested, they've been in jail for 20 years, and like that's usually takes a long time for you to actually get given the death penalty decades later. It's like what we already have him locked up. He's already in solitary confinement. He already is never going to get out. Why do we
mm,
got to spend $1 million to just execute him? Like it doesn't make any sense to me. Why? It seems just counterproductive and wasteful.
it could be. But like I said, I mean, there are
Understandable.
instances where I can't sit there and say the death penalty is 100% like not useful. And it's like no,
I
when you
I wouldn't
have
say that.
when you well, yeah, I would disagree because I would say when it comes to mass murderers, that's something where I feel like that's when the only time it's justifiable. You took multiple lives,
Yeah, for
and
sure. I
that's the
just
only
don't
way.
think the government should do it.
Someone says, "What about in military sense, like war crimes?" War crimes, I think, depending on what the war crime is. Thanks, Black Bagged, for putting this message out there. Uh, the war crimes, it depends on what the war crime is. If it's you went inside a village and you killed a whole bunch of people, you should get the death penalty. Uh, but that goes in line with my initial thought, where it's just like the only time I find it's justifiable is doing mass murders.
I understand the perspective. I just don't think the government should do it.
Yeah,
I definitely think they deserve death and pain and suffering that follows from all the pain and suffering they cause, but it just doesn't make any logistical sense why you would do that once they've been locked up for that amount of time and they don't have a chance of getting out. So,
yeah.
oh, you said, wait, you put agree or disagree?
Agreement should be an option for the most serious crimes. I'm gonna put disagree because mine is very narrow where I think
Yeah,
it's acceptable.
I see
Um,
what you
and there's not like I said, there's only one narrow fact that I would find justifiable.
mean. And technically, like some like not political assassinations, but like killing Osama bin Laden is kind of like an execution or the same way, right? It's like the
Yeah,
death penalty. We just didn't catch him first. We're just like, I don't know. So I definitely, if the United States was able to like peacefully assassinate Kim Jong Un and it could translate to a democracy because those results, like I'm fine with that. Like I'm utilitarian. I just think like if they're locked up in a prison and you have them
mhm,
for there for decades, they're not ever going to get out. It's costly and ineffective. I don't know. I can see it as a deterrent too. Like maybe a certain amount of people who don't want to get executed might not do a murder, but I don't know. It just seems like a slippery slope to me. But I
yeah.
get it. I get the feelings behind it. Civilized society, one must always have people to be obeyed and people below to be commanded.
I agree. And then that goes back to our earlier point, where there's got to be some kind of hierarchy and organizational
I
structure.
see this differently the way it's worded. I don't see it as hierarchy. I don't. It's both the words commanded and the words obeyed that do it for me. Like
Hmm.
you have to. I think there's hierarchy of trust and like you should listen to the person with more authority. You know what I mean? You should trust them. You should go along, but you must obey them, obey their commands. It's kind of like, ugh, that's not very civilized to me. That's a kind of power that somebody has above another person
Well,
that
I
you
think you
must
should
obey.
obey commands. You should obey commands as long as it doesn't conflict with your moral ethics. I
And it
don't think
also
that.
says in a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed in command, and not just like, you know what I mean? It's like there must be a strict hierarchy in every situation. And it's kind of like anti-democratic in my view.
Uh,
If it says in certain situations there should be people to be obeyed in command, like yeah, of course, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded.
yeah.
It's like a strict hierarchy view. It's like a caste system, how I'm viewing its
Well, I
wording.
don't. It's hard to sit there and say that that's not the case. I mean, when you look at um, parental relationship with their child, there's a hierarchy.
Yeah,
We obey our parents
it's a
until we have.
justified hierarchy.
What
It's
happened?
that is a justified hierarchy, but
Yeah, but once
must
we
there
get the
always
moral, but once
be people?
but
Must
once
there
we have
always be people to commanding and people to be obeying?
well,
Always?
yeah, but once we have the moral ethics, and we stop listening to our parents because we have our own ethic code that we follow. And
Yeah.
then what happens is you meet someone who is a mentor or a leader in your place, and you you abdicate um, certain authority to them because you believe that they're going to take you in a certain direction, and so you obey them and you command them because that's what you believe they're going to take you until they, you know, till they defy your moral ethics, and then you find someone else. So I think in society is always going to be.
But that's not really obeying, is it? That's not obeying if you find somebody else and you
Well,
don't
I
do what they
think
say
that
you
there's
disagree.
limits to obey. I don't think that people obey blindlessly. I think that people obey as long as they want to obey. I mean, that's
I
just
view this as like enforceable. You must obey your commands. I view this as like an enforceable statement. Like in a civilized society, you must always have people that you must obey the people that command you. It's like I don't agree with that.
well,
Who
that's a
gives? And this is
statement
the
that I disagree
opposite.
with.
I view this as the opposite of the question earlier. The which one
That
was
if that's what they're going, then I would disagree with that statement. I believe that you obey as long as it's not conflicting with your moral ethics.
it? Yeah, I can agree with your statement.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the opposite of the should authority be questioned? That was the question.
Mm-hmm.
Should authority be questioned? And you said yes, we should question authority. But then we must always have people obey those who command us. It's kind of like the opposite question.
Yeah.
What was your answer? Disagree or
Disagree.
agree?
Disagree based on your perception of how you defined it.
Yeah. I'm just an anti-authoritarian to the bone. I put strongly agree, but or strongly disagree. All right. Abstract art doesn't represent anything that abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all.
No, sorry, disagree. Art is art.
Exactly. Art is the eye of the beholder.
Yes.
In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation.
I strongly disagree.
I agree with you. It's so I like when I agree with your statement. I'm like, I agree. Wait, I mean, I just strongly disagree. I don't know how to answer it. You said it correctly. I strongly disagree.
Yeah.
There we go. It is a waste of time to rehabilitate some criminals.
I disagree.
Even the people that mass murdered.
Well, I think they should definitely, but
So you don't want to
like I said, I was strongly
you don't
disagree.
want to try and rehabilitate them.
Um, that's a tough question, and I think that's going to be fact driven. If someone's remorseful, about what they did and what they committed, and they wasn't penalized to death, then yeah, they should I believe they should be rehabbed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I actually disagree with you on this one.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. Like I said, the people who, I don't know. I kind of agree with you. If I don't think that they can be rehabilitated and like reintroduced into society, but even the people that like mass murdered a bunch of people, I think can have a life in prison and should be able to be rehabilitated from like the murdering like tendencies or whatever. So I don't know necessarily what it means by rehabilitate, but do I think that we should try to reincorporate some people into society that have mass murdered people? I don't think we should try to rehabilitate them, but in the sense of like, yeah, we should probably curb their murdering tendencies. Then definitely agree. So I don't
Exactly.
know. Now I don't know how I feel about this one. I think I had it as agree, but now I think I'm switching to disagree, just based on how illly defined it is. Um, the businessman and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist.
Strongly disagree. No one's more important than the other.
I feel like strongly disagree would mean like the writer and the artist are more important. That's how I would see it. I feel like you
No.
would say, like, I feel like your stance is disagree based on how you answered it. I feel like
It's on
strongly
the
disagree. Like, no, the writer and artist are more important than the business person and manufacturer. And I agree with your stance, but I would put disagree. Nobody's more important. You know what I mean? There's importance to business people and manufacturers. There's importance to writers and artists. So I just put disagree. I don't think that writers and artists are I mean, some are more important to society, but like I don't think business persons and manufacturers are necessarily unimportant. So
yeah.
mothers have their careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers.
That's funny. I strongly disagree.
I agree with that statement that you made.
I laugh because I'm like, man, this is 1950. We still talking about that. But yeah, go ahead.
The first job should be to make sure the house is clean. One,
Yeah, I
like
was like, Jesus.
multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. It took me a while to actually develop a stance on this because I didn't really know what was going on in the world, but I definitely see multinational corporations as exploiting, you know, underpaying, paying for like the country of Congo or something like that. Like, I definitely think they're exploiting them for their resources and paying them pennies on the dollar just because it's more money to them in their country, but it's worthless what they're compensating developing countries.
I don't really know the stance, like you said. It's a really tough one. Um, Multinational companies are unethical. I have no opinion on this because I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of felt like that for a while.
Yeah, I
I
really
would
don't know. I'm just going to read the question as it is. If they're since they're acting without ethics and they're exploiting a developed country, then
I definitely
I
think it
really,
exists at least in some circumstances enough that I would put at
I'm
least agree.
not really. I have no opinion on that. I have no idea. So if you have no opinion, you
Can
can't
I
agree with it. You gotta
can I
say
tell
agree.
you to at least just put agree?
I gotta put agree because I don't have no opinion. So I can't disagree.
Yeah, I think it's happening at least in some situations. I definitely think it's arguable that's happening in a lot of situations, and it's definitely happened if we're talking about like the 1700s or something like that. Maybe that's not genetic resources or plant genetic resources or whatever, but it's they at least like exploited and imperialized like Africa, like European corporations and militias. They just sort of went over and robbed Africa blind, and I don't think that's even what it's talking about, because it's talking about exploiting, which is not the same as just straight up robbing. This would be more about like unequal exchange in trade, kind of, or yeah. So you just assume that if they're multinational corporations, they're going to be exploiting developing countries.
Of course,
you can generally assume.
You can assume that.
Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. This is an interesting. I flip flop on this one.
No, I disagree.
Like I said, I flip flop. I will change depending on how I feel in the day. Like, I'm like, making peace. Peace is good. Mature. It's mature to, like, put down your unrealistic radicalism or whatever, but also it's like, do I have to side with the establishment? Is that mature to side with the establishment? Like, I could go either way. I would probably also disagree.
I would disagree. I mean, I believe that we should always be pulling the establishment feet to the fire to make sure they're not being complacent on our rights and our issues.
I'd say maybe peace is fine. Peace is okay, but like peace meaning I won't push back. No, I'm not gonna like, I hate Joe Biden, I hope he dies. No.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to be friendly, peaceful, but like not submissive. Definitely submissive.
Yeah.
Don't be submissive to the establishment. We're probably on the same page on that one. Technology accurately explains many things.
This is some Greek mythology thing right here. I disagree. I think there's other scientists too that explain things, not just the stars.
Oh, I don't think it says just, but it just does astrology explain things, not like instead of science. I've slowly drifted to. I'm like astrology curious, and I've seen it.
No, I mean, I like astrology too, but does it actually explain many things? Not really. It gives a general.
If you put emphasis on the many, then I might agree with you.
Yeah,
I think there's some. Yeah, I think most of us just don't understand it, but I think the more and more I learn, the more I'm like, it might be kind of true though. There's a reason it exists cross culturally, and it's not just about like birth dates. It's about like it's like your rotation around the sun, and like I don't know. There's a lot of different things. It's kind of interesting. I lean towards agree, but like I don't blame you for not. You cannot be moral without being religious.
I disagree.
I strongly disagree as well. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged.
I disagree.
Same. Charity helps in like one situation, but like security, like an ongoing form of aid, is a lot more beneficial. Like maybe one rich person could go up to one poor person and give them $10,000, and that significantly gives them the boost they need to get their shit together. Like it can help, but it's nothing like security.
Of course not.
Yeah, of course not. Some people are naturally unlucky.
Naturally.
What was that?
I said yes, naturally.
Oh, I would also just put agree. You put agree or strongly disagree? Agree.
I put. Oh, I'm sorry. Some people are naturally unlucky. Strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you just said agree.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. You don't think people are unlucky?
No, I think I'm a big faith guy.
Don't you think people that are born into like systemic disadvantaged societies are kind of unlucky compared to people who are born into a really rich family? I don't think necessarily like, oh, everything happens to me. I don't know. Some people are just, dude, I have a friend that she is literally the worst life, and everything externally happens to her. She does some stuff that she shouldn't do too, but like
Yeah.
she'll just like randomly be like she's literally had the worst life imaginable, and like she just like drives home and she's like, oh, this car just flipped out in front of me like shit I've never seen before. But you could also see that as being lucky 'cause she's not dead. I'm just saying, like, there's some people who have some bad karma, some bad shit be following them, and people are born into unequal circumstances that are just not fair to them, and they get oppressed by society. If you're born into slavery, you are naturally, I mean, you're unlucky. I don't think
Yeah.
it's necessarily because of you, but people are born into unlucky circumstances. So I don't know if it means like your personality is unlucky, or if it means like people are
I
born
think
into.
I think that we are born in the life that we're born in, and we all have different starting points, and our end point should be different than where we started from. Does that make us lucky or not lucky? I'm like I said, I'm a faith-based person, so I believe like even in failure or not a great life, by our standards, because that's all perception. That doesn't make you unlucky. It just makes you your life. Um, like I said, I'm very faith based on that. I believe that um, people, circumstances, and how they, because a lot of people, it's funny because we see success in a different way in America than someone would see success in like a country like Haiti or an African country. Success
Mhm.
is really perspective based. And does that make that person unlucky because they were born in Haiti or a third world country? No, it does not. That's their life. That's how they were born. They make the most of it, and for them, that's the best. That's probably the best world. And they come here in America, and it's like, man, America feels like the third world country because they work so much and they do this and they don't enjoy their family.
Yeah,
And so,
circumstances are definitely better in America. I do know what you mean. Like not everything is just like people have. There's positives and negatives to every situation.
yeah.
So there's a
So I
silver
don't.
lining, but I do think
Yeah, I
people
don't
are
think.
born into unequal, unlucky circumstances. I don't think
Yeah,
that
I don't,
necessarily means the person is unlucky, but they
yeah. I
got
don't think
unlucky dealt of cards or whatever.
exactly. Does that make them naturally unlucky? No,
That's
they may have just started. They started a different point in life.
that's a good question. Oh, good point. If you put the emphasis on naturally,
Hmm.
I don't think I don't think people are naturally unlucky. I do think people are unlucky, put into unlucky circumstances because of the hand they're dealt or whatever.
Exactly.
All right, we're almost done. It is important that my child's school instills religious values.
I agree or disagree. Slightly disagree.
Okay.
I don't think that's the role of the school. I believe in separation of church and state, but I
Yeah.
do believe parents should have the ability, if they want to have a Christian upbringing in their child's education, that they should have the ability to do that.
I don't think it's important that my child's school instills religious values. Do I
I don't
think
have kids, so I
Christian
can't answer
schools? Do I think
that.
Christian schools should exist at all? I really wish they didn't. Like, especially this stuff I was taught and stuff, but I don't think the
Well,
government can realistically enforce that. So,
I
if
don't even think Christian school. I think that any school you want to bring your child, like if it's a Muslim school, if it's a Buddhist school,
yeah,
it should you have the right as a parent to dictate, if you want the child to be raised in that values.
isn't that
Uh,
indoctrination though? Aren't
it's
you forcing the
indoctrination,
belief
but
onto
it's
them
schools
by
indoctrination.
tying it with other like school? Like this is how you read, this is how you do math. God is real, and the Earth is 6,000 years old, and yeah, like that's how I was raised. Like it's all the same amount of realistic. Like
Well, there's universal education standards that everyone has to follow.
not at my
But
school, not the school I went to, Christian school.
well, I didn't. Okay, so in that respect, yes, I do believe we need to have a baseline education system that America teaches,
Yeah,
and
like a
but if
code.
you want to put your religious slant on it,
Yeah,
they shouldn't be barred from being able to do
I'm in
that.
agreement. As long as you adhere to certain standards and you actually educate them based on the sciences and like what we know to be true. You can also say like, you can also have a Bible class that's separate from your science class, but I don't think your Bible class needs to influence how you view science. I don't think
Exactly.
that's how I see the big problem
Yeah,
with Christian
I had a
schools.
professor. I keep calling. I had a teacher who was a Christian, and he said that in my seventh grade class. He's like, "I'm a Christian, but I'm a science teacher, and
Yeah.
one can teach science and be Christian. So it's definitely
Yeah, I mean, actually, the
possible."
high school I went to, I think was the same way. I think a lot of Christians were like, I believe God created the earth and this and that, but this is what evolution teaches and this and that. And you can believe
Yeah,
what you want.
exactly.
Like even if they teach it as like you can't like say the earth was created in 7 days and it only was 6,000 years
Right.
old because this book says so, and that's how science works because I read a book. That's a little,
Yeah,
yeah, you can't do that.
you
You
can't
can't
do
be
that. I mean,
accredited at the public or as a school if you teach stuff like that. But
I
yeah,
think that
I
you
think
can
there's
teach,
room for a religious slant.
of course. Yeah. Okay. This is what next one.
Sex outside marriage is usually immoral.
That's whoever your maker is, and if you have that conviction, then sure. But if you ask me, it's not immoral if you don't believe it's immoral. If it's moral to you, then it's moral to you. So I disagree.
I
Morality.
strongly disagree. I don't think. I mean, I think there can be immoral sex outside of marriage. I think there could be immoral
What
sex
it's
inside of
what is some immoral sex outside of marriage?
rape.
Okay, okay,
There's-
well, yeah,
there can be immoral sex, but even lesser so than that. You could be like super promiscuous and use women and not care about like objectifying people.
but
Like
is that our society rules to
you
tell
could have
people?
you can have an immoral like if you have sex with like 200 women a year and you just
But that's his choice
no, I know, but you could be
or her
exploiting
choice.
them. You could be exploiting them, and this. I guess there's a lot of like, what else are you doing if you're just having free consensual sex and they're aware that you're not leading them on this and that. That's perfectly fine.
No, I
I
mean
think there can be immoral.
the reality is morality is not for us; it's for the person. If someone believes that it's moral to sleep with 200 people, by all means, if all 200 people know and they consent to it,
Yeah.
then guess what? That's his morals.
If you have you seen How I Met Your Mother?
How I
No.
Met Your Mother?
Yeah. If you
Yes, yes, I
uh,
have.
I'm viewing this like the Barney Stinson character, where he's like constantly wearing a different costume, and he's like, "I'm the CEO of this and that," and he's just tricking women constantly into having sex with him by
Yeah. That's immoral because you're
that's
lying.
what he's saying. Yeah,
You're
I mean,
deceiving people.
but I guess that's not just that's not just sex outside marriage. You know, that's there's immoral sex that can happen outside marriage, obviously.
Of course.
So I don't think it's just I don't think you got to be married or anything. That's ridiculous. A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption.
So I wrestled with this for a long time. I actually didn't change my position on this answer, and I should not be excluded. And I agree with that statement.
Yeah,
The reason
definitely.
why yeah, it took me a while to come to grips with it. Like I said, I'm very faith based, and
Yeah,
so my stance was like, I just don't understand it. But as it was explained to me that would we rather have a child with no loving family and no loving support
yeah.
because we don't agree with the person's lifestyle?
It's not even
No.
lifestyle; it's their gender or whatever. You know what I mean?
The gender, excuse me, I apologize. The
No,
gender, and
you're right to what you're saying too. But I mean, like, oh, they're both dudes. She has to. You have to have one vagina in the relationship, or
yeah,
otherwise it
it's like
doesn't work. No, of course that's bullshit. Like, there's shitty straight couples who abuse their children and abuse each other, and there's
exactly,
accepting, loving straight gay couples. Like, it's about the nature of the relationship, not the gender. So that's how.
and that's why I had to evolve on myself because for me, I never had a problem with homosexuality or whatever. If you decide to, but I always had a problem with adopting because I always felt like, okay, well, that is taking a step too not far, but it was hard for me to understand, you know, a non
a non-traditional
a
family
non
like that.
yeah, a non-traditional family being raised that way. And and I understood it that there's and a lot of it took me to understand homosexuality and understand, that they're just like us and they love each other just like us.
There's really
And
no difference at all.
there's no difference. And that's why I had to evolve in that issue because,
Yeah,
coming from a faith-based religion, you're always taught, no, no, homosexuality is sin
yeah,
and going to hell and all this other stuff. So undoing a lot of that thought process um, took me, to accept homosexuality for what it is, and also to understand that adoption for homosexuals. It took me a while to evolve on that particular issue, but I think that I 100% disagree that the sexist. I'm sorry, same-sex couple. I agree that same-sex couple is stable. Loving relationship should not be excluded from possibility of child adoption.
I agree with that. I would put strongly agree, but I don't give a shit about like
Yeah.
prioritizing straight couples or anything because like they talk about, oh, you need a balance of masculinity and femininity. What if it's like a really masculine woman and a really
Mhm.
feminine dude? What if it's too masculine or a masculine dude and a masculine woman? Then this child is still without femininity in their life as an influence. Like it's really more about like balance in general.
I
It
think
doesn't
that
matter.
reality is a child needs to be loved. I mean,
Yeah, and
however they get it
especially
is
if
how they
like a
get it.
child's gonna be in an adoption home or something like that. Like, if a gay couple wants to take them to not live without parents, like any child is better off with parents than in an orphanage. You know,
I
maybe
agree.
not an abusive parents, but if they're just a regular, any sort of regular support system, it's gonna be better off than forgetting that word.
Yeah.
Then we're just about done.
Hmm.
Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population.
Is pornography illegal?
No, legal. Should it be legal?
Is it illegal right now?
No, pornography is not legal.
I don't understand.
Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population.
I don't think it's illegal.
It's not,
Uh,
but it's saying it should remain legal.
I strongly agree. I don't
Yeah.
even know that was an issue.
Oh, dude, the conservatives want to ban porn, for sure.
They still want to ban porn.
Yep.
Doesn't half of them always get in trouble for having porn?
Oh, of course. Heck yeah, for sure.
Like, that's crazy. Like
Yeah.
every other sex scandal is because
Usually it's like gay or trans porn too. Like that happens a lot. Like they'll be like super transphobic and but then like it shows
no,
like
no, I know. It's like it's crazy. Like that pastor Jerry whatever Jerry
yeah.
Falwell guy. It's like I watched
Oh
his
yeah.
thing. It's like, bro, you're like a super pastor and a super Trump conservative guy, and then you're like getting caught like videotaping your wife having sex with
Yeah.
some
A
random
little,
dude.
little kinky.
Yeah, it's like, bro, it's like okay, whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
Pornography, yes, should be legal. It's
Yeah,
like grow up. It's 2023.
for sure. What goes on in a private bedroom between adults is no business of the state.
I strongly agree, and
Same.
I think that goes to like sodomy laws that you're trying to say.
Yeah. There
So,
shouldn't be any consent. We're good. You stay out of my business.
yeah.
As long as people are on the same
Hmm.
page, there's no abuse. What goes on? I already did that.
Yeah.
No one can feel naturally homosexual.
I have no idea what that means.
It means like, is gay a choice?
Kid choice. I don't know. I'm not gay, so I can't speak to that. Uh,
Gay people generally say it's not a choice. So
if they say it's not a choice, and if that person believes it's not a choice, then it's not a choice. They were born that way. I
I
mean,
don't know anybody that chooses to be gay. Kind of,
I think those
you
kind of
know.
questions are very like no one can feel naturally homosexual. How would I know that? I'm not homosexual. If only if I was homosexual, then I could be able to answer that question.
Well, if you were homosexual, then you'd be, you know,
I would know if
naturally
it felt
homosexual.
natural or if it felt unnatural, or I would have. I
If
would
it felt
answer.
unnatural, you probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I'm not homosexual. I can't answer that question. I mean, I know homosexuals who feel as if they were born that way, and then that's fine. I mean, I don't.
I mean, generally, people aren't born like to have sexual interests. but generally, like
But what they're saying,
even
they have tendencies like they wear
yeah,
like women clothes. They wear.
usually, I mean, I wouldn't say not necessarily, but usually like kids, even like from kindergarten age, they know that like they have crushes on boys instead of girls.
Yeah.
Like people can
So
tell pretty quickly. So it's
so
I
yeah,
don't think it's
that's probably what they felt already, saying it's natural to them that they've always been into guys or
yeah.
into girls, and it's like that's not for me to say that they can naturally feel it or cannot naturally feel it because I'm not.
It also says no one can feel naturally
Well,
homosexual.
okay, that disagree with that statement because
Yeah,
I've
it's
heard people
definitely. Oh,
like
I'm disagree.
yeah, because I've heard people say they naturally were homosexual. So
All
sorry
right,
that's
I think this is the last question.
mhm.
These days, openness about sex has gone too far.
um I think okay, that's a tricky one. I think the openness about sex has gone too far. The fact that it's become too politicized. Excuse me, it's getting real late. It's getting politicized, and it's not really. It's driving away topics that I believe are more important issues like social security, universal health care, and other topics like that. So I believe that that's why it's going too far because it's taking away from other political topics versus someone being open about who they are and their sexuality. That's something that you know there should be no limits on someone talking about what they like and and who they like and how they like to do it. But it's,
Yeah,
but I think it's gone too far in the way that it's been politicized and it's moving away from certain topics.
I don't think it's talking about. I think it's talking about openness. It means like, should like a puritanical society. Should you be like open about like? Should you be able to talk about sex like on TV shows and like this and that,
Yeah,
or
I don't I don't believe
secretive?
in hiding sex. I grew up in a conservative house.
Yeah,
My parents were conservatives,
yeah,
Democratic conservatives, but they were conservatives. And I don't think it helps when you don't talk about sex. It's
yeah.
like if you try to hide.
It creates weird like misunderstandings, and I think it leads to more like abuse and stuff like that when you're not educated on these issues.
Yeah, I think that you
Yeah,
should be. I was 12. I had a condom class. I think
yeah,
most people have that class. I think the earlier you talk about sexuality, the more it takes away the mystique of sexuality.
yeah.
And the more mystique sexuality is, the more people are willing to do things and try things way before it's their time and way before they're
Yeah.
ready.
Or like not even know what they're trying, like get like fall into territory that's dangerous,
Yeah,
like they don't realize what they're
and
doing,
I know a lot. Of,
which is abusive
yeah, and I know a
often.
lot of conservatives like, oh, we don't talk about sex, but the reality is they're gonna hear.
My parents never gave me the sex talk, so
Yeah, yeah, mine's neither.
I'm fucked up in the brain. So
Yeah, so that's what happens. For anybody, even myself, I never had sex talk. So a lot
yeah,
of stuff. I'm a lot older now, but when I was in my 20s, I was like trying to figure myself out. I was like, oh, and then you just don't know because you're starting later than someone who had the conversation when they were
yeah.
12 or 13. And
I think I
so
went
I
to a
think,
Christian school, and I didn't figure that out until like literally like seventh grade. I was like 13. I'm like, so that's like I was piecing stuff together slowly. It's not very helpful. And
so
like,
yeah, I think open sex, it, we
and
should
it'll just
always
like lead them to be curious, and then we'll just go right to porn, right? Would you
exactly.
rather like explain like how this happened instead of your 13-year-old being like, oh, yeah, you don't want them to fucking figure out. Dude, it's not a good path. So you say agree or strongly agree, or I mean wait, no, strongly
I,
disagree.
I strongly disagree. I think we need to.
I agree with that stance. All right, you ready?
Hmm.
I also just emailed my results that I just did right now, and I'll pull that to.
Let's just say, says I'm authoritarian or I'm
Ooh,
libertarian. What am I?
I kind of thought you were gonna have worse results. These are good results. The red scare would be like the communists, like
Oh, I'm not a
USSR.
communist. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Up here, this is like scale I can show you. Wait, let me try to find this real quick. That's noise Seth makes when he types. Whatever. It's loading slowly. I don't care. Okay. Anyways, about to -4 would be like, this is where they like say you're a socialist if you're past here.
I'm a socialist.
So Jesse's socialist. You're socialist leaning on economics, but you're also pretty libertarian leaning on social issues. But you're less. What was that?
Wait, so I'm a social. Wait, so I'm an economically socialist. I feel like I'm in the middle. No,
I don't think you're really a socialist. I think this is just like your values. So your values would be more on the actual, like, if there was a more encompassing, like the economics questions, there weren't very many. So, but I think you would be like a social democrat on economics, which I'm partial to, which would be more like socialist values in a capitalist framework, right?
yeah. So
Ooh, here.
I feel like I'm in the. Well, this is the middle, right? This little center, right, of everything. But it says I'm leaning more towards.
Definitely not a centrist.
No, I'm not centrist. But I think
No,
I'm more libertarian. It says.
Yeah, you're pretty libertarian. If you were like past, let's see, if you were like -5, you could probably call yourself like a left libertarian. So you're like just short of that. Like that's kind of like that bottom line. That's where you're like a libertarian. This is kind of like the liberal. If you're like -5 to 0 in this range, you're like a liberal. So you're like a real liberal, but like in pretty.
I'm a left-wing liberal. That's awesome.
Pretty much. I mean, that's what social liberalism is. But you're like on the precipice. You're like, I think. Here, I'm trying to pull this chart up still.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem very big though. That's the problem. Oops. Oh fuck. This is gonna be a helpful graph if I can get it to pull up. View image. All right, this will work. New tab now.
Yeah, let me see.
You see my new.
I said, can you scroll in a little bit?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. Whoa, a little too much. Yeah, it's not too bad. All right, see, it's a little more than that, like whatever. So this is that line I was talking about, the -4, and so this is -5. So you were like in this area.
Market socialism.
Like liberal, like between liberal socialism, market socialism. I'm kind of actually, I think, if we pulled up mine, I'm probably more down here. So this is more like, so this is like Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and then these are like actual this is like the Nordic model socialists. Actually, they're all in this range, because then they're like, this is not really socialist. I don't know why it's so. See, it's social democracy. Yeah. I don't think you're really socialist. I don't think you need like the workers' means of production or whatever. But you would value like a human capitalism, right? That's how you would view it.
Yeah, I always say that's what my stance is. I'm human-centered.
Yeah, which is basically another way of saying social democracy. Yeah, there's the this would be like Bill Clinton right here. Basically not. This, yeah, he's this liberalism is the center right ideology. I wish I could zoom out a little bit. Let me try that.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Let's show my results real quick. All right, and this is the ones I just got.
That's see, we're about. The market.
Yeah, see, we're about the same on economics, but I'm a little bit more libertarian than you. See, you were
Definitely a
like negative. What was that?
definitely a market socialist.
Who, me or you?
Me.
Yeah, you definitely the market socialist like ideology. We would be like, we want every company should be democratic, like that kind of thing, and we want the like a more social ownership instead of all the rich people owning everything. But like, we still really want markets and competition, commodities, stuff like that. So it's kind of a unique ideology that doesn't exist that much
Yeah.
in the real world. Like, there's been like one country, but yeah, I'm just more libertarian than you. That's all. I just am more distrusting of governments. And we're about as left wing as each other.
No, it's
I would
true.
definitely call you a progressive, a social democrat still, like the Nordic model.
Nordic model.
Yeah, Nordic
Oh,
models. What did that say? Like right here is the Nordic model,
yeah.
pretty much. So we're just like, I don't know, a little bit more left wing, a little bit more like anti-government or distrusting of governments. So,
Mm-hmm.
do you want to not watch the alien video since we're so far?
Yeah, we gotta go. But
Here, how about we
we
watch
said we
like
were hmm?
let's watch like 30 seconds of it.
30 seconds.
Yeah, it's not very long. There's just literally. All right,
Let's
I'm
let's
just gonna.
let's let's tease it for next week. So let's do 30 seconds and let's leave it teaser.
Okay, that's fine. We don't have to talk about it. Let's
Okay.
just listen to what they say, because we've been building that for a minute. All right.
Yeah.
If you believe we have craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies that piloted this craft?
Biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
We arrived at the
That was
location
the
at
part
about
I thought was worth showing. That was kind of like the
Mhm.
there, where he's literally
Yeah.
like credentialed in all this ways and works with all the people that would be able to say it. And he's like, yeah, and he was so evasive. That's what really convinced me. There were biologics. Were they humans? They were not humans. That makes me be like, okay, yeah, that's pretty confirming.
Yeah.
So we don't want to delve. We wouldn't really have that much to talk about. Actually, I feel like we could talk
No.
about it for a long time. We
Yeah.
don't really know.
We don't know, but we're gonna dive in next week, and that's a good segue to say like,
Hopefully
hey,
more comes out.
stay tuned to next week's UFO episode.
We
So
went
that's
pretty deep today. We covered
yeah,
a lot of different topics through this test. That was pretty fun.
yeah, it was.
And you did a lot better than I. Like at the beginning, you were starting to disagree with me on certain things. I'm like, you might have a lot worse results than I was hoping for. But no, you came back solid.
All right.
You're solid progressive with, social democratic and even market socialist tendencies.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like I was influencing your answers too much. Like I didn't feel like I was controlling them. You were definitely willing to disagree with me. So you still came back with perfect answers or
Awesome.
perfect results.
Well, Seth, this was a great episode.
Very long.
Very
Definitely
long.
our longest episode.
Done the longest, but we promised that it was going to be long because we
Yeah.
wanted to make sure we make up for last week. So, with that being said, we're going to sign off. We want you guys to tune in next time to our UFO episode because we were going to do it tonight, but we went a little bit too long with the game.
Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff though.
You did, and I look forward to the UFO episode because I'm very interested in it. My favorite movie is Independence Day.
I love that movie.
Great movie. So I'm gonna sign out, guys.
Confirmed biologics.
Confirm biologics. See you guys next week.
All right. Thank you guys for showing up. Like and subscribe to Imagine More.